In this magical world, the incompetent were always eliminated. Power was essential for humans to gain wealth, fame, and position in life. The male protagonist always believed that everyone had at least one survival skill or ability and that if they didn't, it was only because they hadn't yet discovered it. Then, as he faced the powerful monsters, his thinking was entirely shattered. He recalled back to the times when he had been mocked by his teammates and helpless to do anything. Additionally, his girlfriend had demanded a breakup and had treated him like an F-list scrapper. There was no place for losers in this terrible world. The male protagonist was despondent and did not require ability since he had something stronger, which was the memory of 99,000 previous lives. Shields, swordsmanship, singing, and even bodybuilding were all pouring through him. His body was being infused with historical figures such as Romandi, the immortal emperor, Nashashin, a master of black magic, Danzig, unable to defend himself, Reaper, a bloodthirsty killer, and numerous other strong spirits who would help him rule the entire world. And this was the story of the pitiful F-rank hunter Kong Hung-joon, who abruptly awoke from 99,000 previous lifetimes. Kong Hung-joon, an F-rank hunter, was forced into a fight with skeletal monsters after being unable to locate them, and the dungeon's entrance abruptly closed. He was surrounded by high-level monsters, but he wasn't going to die here. He picked up his sword with a will to never yield, and then that determination was recognized. A voice suddenly sounded in his head. His past life had crossed the limits, and he decided to intervene. The last swordsman, Sidon Miller, poured a powerful current of power into Hung-joon's body, and the holy sword's soul and Hung-joon's body united into one, pushing his fighting spirit and strength to their peak. Everything appeared to be going smoothly until suddenly Hung-joon woke up with his body covered in wounds. His teammates then described what had happened in the dungeon. He had been hit by a monster and consumed all of his medicine before being struck by a stone and passing out. As a result, it took them much longer to complete the conquest. Hung-joon clenched his teeth and criticized them for using him as the monster's bait, but the other guy's words later prevented Hung-joon from saying anything else because it was Hung-joon who agreed to participate in the battle as the bait. Prior to joining the hunter team, Hung-joon had boldly declared that he could accomplish anything successfully. However, the truth is always harsh, and as a result, he was scorned by his teammates and expelled from the team. In this world, where dungeons, monsters, and conquests first emerged, those who awakened their abilities would become hunters to discover dungeons. They would then be ranked according to their skills and accomplishments. In a society where rank was important, Kong Hung-joon was only an F-rank hunter. Bottom hunters like him were treated with disdain on a daily basis, but he was able to endure it because he had a stunning girlfriend in HyeonJoon. Hung-joon enthusiastically talked to HyeonJoon, but HyeonJoon was still focused on her phone. Today was their first anniversary, and Hung-joon had planned a special gift for his girlfriend. However, HyeonJoon's following words left Hung-joon speechless. HyeonJoon expressed her intention to end the relationship and attempted to leave, but Hung-joon stopped her. HyeonJoon stated with a disdainful expression that she and Hung-joon were both F classes a year ago, but that she was now in the C class, significantly higher than Hung-joon, and she ultimately left without any sign of regret. Hung-joon sat miserably on a park seat, calling Sukgyu out to confide in since only Sukgyu could make Hung-joon feel better. However, from the look on Sukgyu's face, it appeared as though Sukgyu was mocking Hung-joon. There was already alcohol around, so Sukgyu bought Hung-joon a dinner at the convenience store and did not forget to add salt to his wounds. Although Sukgyu was kidding, it wasn't at all wrong. Hung-joon believed that everyone had secret potential and that he would awaken his latent skills sooner or later, but he didn't know how much longer he could attempt. A blonde man approached Hung-joon at this point and said he felt great potential in him. He then smiled evilly and asked if Hung-joon believed in his past lives because he could feel the great spirits emanating from Hung-joon and claimed the strongest warriors and horsemen in human history had been very close to Hung-joon. That man then added that it wouldn't matter if Hung-joon sought strength, and that for the time being he could just inform Hung-joon. The rest would be up to Hung-joon to decide. Sukgyu bought more alcohol, and the two drank till the evening because Hung-joon was lovelorn today, so he drank a lot and had to ask Sukgyu to carry him home. When Hung-joon opened the door and entered, a rapid light erupted from the space, and the spirit of the first hero, Carthago, the shield of justice that protected the north of the great empire and Hung-joon's old life, appeared. Hung-joon was startled by what he saw. But after recalling the words of the elderly blonde man in the park, he realized that things were starting to come together. Then, all of a sudden, the hero said to HyeonJoon, "It doesn't matter whether you believe me or not because you would soon be able to experience it firsthand and because I had already noticed you, Kong HyeonJoon. And even if I have to tear you apart 100,000 times with this lance, I would imbue you with my will." HyeonJoon wasn't sure what was going on as Carthago proceeded to threaten HyeonJoon with bathing in his blood and flesh if he dared ruin the hero's reputation. Carthago then stabbed HyeonJoon in the belly with his spear. HyeonJoon then dropped to the ground in pain, asking Carthage why he had done this to him. Carthago replied that pain was an old acquaintance with this body, and the perverted way of thinking in HyeonJoon's head was unimportant because the spear wouldn't kill him. HyeonJoon's psyche would be tormented to the farthest degree in this illusory dimension, and without Carthage's consent, he would never be able to leave. Even if he wanted to die, he couldn't. HyeonJoon then stared at the door and hurried towards it, thinking that if he simply got through the door, everything would be back to normal, but Carthago's words made him reconsider. HyeonJoon was questioned about whether he was running once more by Carthago. Carthago claimed that HyeonJoon lacked the bravery to confront death. It was so vile, as well as the strength to fight himself. As a result, HyeonJoon had lost his lover and his self-respect. Carthage stated that if HyeonJoon wanted to continue in this manner, he could, and Carthago was ashamed to have HyeonJoon as his flesh and blood. HyeonJoon retorted angrily, "You know nothing about me." Despite the fact that he lacked skill, he always believed that if he worked hard enough, one day everything would be alright. However, the bitter reality was that, no matter how hard he tried, he was unable to get better. Carthago was happy with HyeonJoon's expression now. Carthago was HyeonJoon's past existence, appearing here to pass on the will so that no one could stomp on HyeonJoon anymore and lead him to the top of the world. This was followed by the blessings of 99,000 past lives. Sidon Miller, Hope, Romandy, Siren, Hannah, Pantheon, and many more spirits who were here to aid. Nevertheless, HyeonJoon's ability to get stronger was still dependent on his own determination. HyeonJoon snatched up the shield that was lying on the ground in order to block Carthagon's strike even once. As soon as the spear swept forward, Carthagon slashed the shield aside and swiftly stabbed a lethal blow. This incredible power was worthy of the hero of antiquity. He then commanded HyeonJoon to pick up the shield and carry on the battle, but HyeonJoon's memory was slowly fading, and he had likely been struck by a lance more than 100 times by this point. After more than 2,500 unsuccessful efforts, HyeonJoon eventually mastered the use of a shield. This time, Carthago focused all of his strength on the spear and released a massive amount of power. HyeonJoon took advantage of the situation and flew the spear away. Carthago was now able to gladly disappear because HyeonJoon's body had learned all 24 of the fundamental moves and how to block the opponent's attack. HyeonJoon awoke from drunkenness to a phone call from Seogyu, who informed him that he had a work schedule at a C-class dungeon. Seokgyu would send HyeonJoon the address, but first HyeonJoon needed to arrange certain items. HyeonJoon thought everything that occurred during the battle with Carthago was a strange dream. Despite the fact that the body had no visible wounds, the dream seemed too real, so he put on his gear and fled the area. The shield that Carthago had used in the battle was also present, and the desire to fight once more filled HyeonJoon's body. As HyeonJoon arrived at the appointed spot, he ran into his ex-girlfriend HyeonJoon again. She had recently broken up with HyeonJoon but already had a new boyfriend. This jerk Sangchul even mocked HyeonJoon's shield, but HyeonJoon didn't have the courage to reply to his harsh words. The squad managed to reach the dungeon entrance, but as soon as they opened it, HyeonJoon felt as though he was about to be stabbed. As if in a dream, and just then, a powerful spear rushed at them, striking HyeonJoon. However, Carthago, the shield of justice, was shielding HyeonJoon, and nothing could hurt him as long as he was under Carthago's protection. When the smoke and dust finally cleared, everyone became panicked. Suddenly, a skeleton charged at them from the darkness, and Sunchul gave the command to set up a defensive formation because this was a high-level monster with an army of powerful skeletons. HyeonJoon chanted the magic, and the squad immediately attacked, dashing at the monsters with all of their might. Fortunately, the team was able to escape the chase, but one member of the team was killed. The skeleton army was only meant to arrive in the B-class dungeons, but there was an army at the C-class gate, and people started to consider retreating and going back home, preferring to be fined rather than lose their lives. The moment HyeonJoon touched the door, his face became terrified, and the door was locked. Possibly this was a type of dungeon that automatically locked the door, and they had to conquer it to be able to leave. HyeonJoon was terrified and hugged Sangchul. Even though HyeonJoon had just broken up with HyeonJoon, she nevertheless had fun with someone else in front of HyeonJoon. The team kept on conquering, and Sangchul wanted to take a break, but Sungsu prevented him because something seemed terribly off about this place. A skeleton soldier suddenly charged over, knocked Sungsu to the ground, and killed him instantaneously. HyeonJoon assumed that this was a general skeleton, which made HyeonJoon fearful and lose her will to fight. The monster raced at HyeonJoon, but despite the danger, he deflected it. He could easily read its movements. Carthago's shield techniques were racing through HyeonJoon's thoughts. He needed to block the attack, aim at the opening point to attack, and strike once the skeleton soldier lost balance. This hit broke the soldier's head. Sangchul's side wasn't like that. He was fiercely attacked by the army and murdered shortly thereafter. But HyeonJoon regained his fighting spirit, routinely destroyed the foe in front of him, and his strength gradually grew. Everyone else was dead, while HyeonJoon was left alive. She started to apologize to HyeonJoon and wanted to rekindle their previous relationship, but at this point, HyeonJoon's eyes were filled with disdain. They halted when they came to a strange door, and HyeonJoon unlocked it while also reminding HyeonJoon to pay attention to safety. However, HyeonJoon was different in that she just needed a shield to defend herself, meaning she was depending on him to survive and escape from the current circumstances. She wanted HyeonJoon to walk in front and follow behind since there was a bridge in front of them. Being such a cunning woman, HyeonJoon got up the bridge without saying anything. He moved forward a little and instructed her to follow. HyeonJoon gently moved on the bridge without any defense, unaware that HyeonJoon had set up a trap for her. HyeonJoon didn't realize that there was a monster in the river. A monster raced out of the sea and bit HyeonJoon hard on the neck. HyeonJoon feigned to put out his hand to help, then nonchalantly watched her being eaten by the monsters. The monsters weren't even aware HyeonJoon existed because he was protected by spirits. He then boldly opened the next door. The soul that had previously entered him had now naturally gone as well. His body gradually began to return to its normal state until he suddenly recovered consciousness without realizing what had happened. He had been entirely controlled by the spirit earlier, and now he didn't know what to do but beat on the door for help. HyeonJoon turned to check behind him, and there were troops brandishing weapons, so HyeonJoon formally opted to fight a war for survival with his initial spirit and sword in hand. At this point, he appeared to turn into a war god, attacking the enemies alone while deftly dodging their blows and blocking them with his shield. A slash killed a soldier, but the soldier was blown away after that enormous explosion and began bleeding on his head. His body was getting tired, and this was the scene at the beginning of the video we had ever seen. HyeonJoon then got up strongly once more, refusing to allow himself to become weak this time. As the hero's spirit observed HyeonJoon's will to fight, it made the decision to step in, and Sidon Miller, the final holy swordsman, officially joined the fight. The atmosphere in the room gradually altered, and the skeleton warriors began to swing their swords in preparation for an attack. HyeonJoon awoke and grasped the blade with ease, at which point Miller's spirit took control of HyeonJoon's body. The entire body was encircled by a green energy source, and a strong sword path was extended to slice the front reinforcement. But after that strike, HyeonJoon's body was incredibly weakened, and shortly after, Sidon Miller's soul mysteriously left. HyeonJoon then passed out. Sidon Miller's soul was back at the debate table. Carthago was furious at their self-possession because it should have been his turn this time, but the two of them were quicker. Carthago felt they shouldn't help HyeonJoon so thoroughly since it would prevent him from learning anything. The soul of a girl, who represented the god of music, also came to this place. Everyone was very confident in this appearance, and despite being a child, HyeonJoon had a very strong fighting spirit. While everyone was talking, the girl crept out the door, planning to enter HyeonJoon's body, but was prevented by Carthago because he would go to battle this time. After escaping from the struggle for survival, Carthago confronted HyeonJoon. He wasn't happy with HyeonJoon's faulty thinking. He claimed rank F was fine and that it was reasonable to feel self-conscious, but there was one thing Carthago wouldn't permit HyeonJoon to do: run away. Carthago stabbed his spear into the ground, and a vast source of strength was emitted. When he swiped his spear towards the sky, space was distorted, and a crack in the sky was seen in front of HyeonJoon. Carthago gave HyeonJoon a mana crystal, also known as the heart of the monster. In the dimension of HyeonJoon's planet, humans used it as a source of energy, but it could be used for other purposes that called forth a monster. HyeonJoon would have to battle it in the near future. This would be his second training session. As the goblin started to attack, Hyung-sung had to raise his shield to defend himself. Though his posture seemed to be okay, his response time was a little slow. The goblin swung the wooden stick at him with such power that he was flung aside, repeatedly assaulting him, and the wounds grew more and more. HyeonJoon had died 5, 10, 20, 50, and now 80 times. His body was in terrible pain. Attacking with a shield required swinging outward, making it difficult to reach the target. Observing everything, HyeonJoon realized that this monster was unquestionably stronger than him and that it frequently changed its assault strategy. As a result, if he could not defeat it in one blow, he would die. HyeonJoon flew up high and focused his strength on the shield, then unleashed a massive blow, punching straight at the goblin. It tried to parry the strike but was absolutely ineffective. Its body was slashed into two, and HyeonJoon was finally able to destroy it. He glared wearily at Carthago before passing out. After HyeonJoon awoke, he was in a cave safe and sound, his body unharmed despite the intense conflict. A mana crystal was in front of him. He picked it up and intended to sell it. The door in front of him appeared to be the last one. Entering revealed a space that was much cleaner than the outside, but in the darkness hid a pair of frightening eyes. A dreadful sound rang out, and it was the bones of a king skeleton soldier. Thus, without much thought, HyeonJoon snatched up his shield and prepared to fight. He pondered if he could prevail, but Carthago's voice jolted him awake. HyeonJoon had complete faith in himself, and Carthago's protection was fully active. An enormous stream of force flowed through his body, and he rushed to attack first. HyeonJoon was going to engage the monster head-on, but he paused. That style of fighting didn't seem appropriate for this high-level monster. First, he should separate himself to identify its weak point. But the monster attacked unexpectedly, a long slash cutting swiftly towards him. HyeonJoon pulled out his shield, but the strike was too powerful for him to entirely deflect, causing his body to crash into the wall. He then painfully stood up, having only enough mana for 2 more blows. While the monster continued to swing strong slashes, HyeonJoon leapt backwards. Each strike was lethal, but he seemed to be able to dodge. When the monster fell to the ground and made a hole, HyeonJoon swiftly seized the opportunity, swinging his shield and slicing the monster's arm forcefully. Despite his success in doing so, the monster did not feel the pain, so the struggle went on. It slashed madly at HyeonJoon, each slash exact and devastating. The fact that there was a shield that slowed the attack only eased some of the pain. The monster's attack power rose with speed, but it was still nothing in comparison to Carthago's spear. HyeonJoon would charge in, using his shield as a launchpad for an attack. Now that he could only risk his life, he slashed the monster's legs with the last of his mana. The blow was so powerful that it caused the creature to fall to its knees on the ground before collapsing entirely. It tried to get up, but it appeared that this would be the end of the fight. HyeonJoon was able to take down a king skeleton soldier. 3 days had passed since the Gate of Area A first appeared, and since there had been no news that it had been conquered, the organization's members assumed that all of HyeonJoon's squad had died. They were mentally preparing for the monster to come out, but instead a figure of a person, HyeonJoon, who had wounds all over his body, showed up. He claimed that the other members had all passed away, at which point Park Jeong-ho, a member of the dungeon administration, demanded that he provide his hunting license. Jeong-ho raced straight to the administration to report once he saw Hyung-sung's hunter card. He informed the chief that it appeared that a hunter had likely been reawakened. The department director was shocked to learn this news, and Park Ho continued by revealing that the only person to survive coming out of a B-rank dungeon was an F-rank hunter by the name of Kong HyeonJoon. Even though he was a little shocked, the chief did not think that the F-rank individual could awaken a second time because S-rank hunters were few and far between when it came to experiencing this process. Park Ho, on the other hand, believed in what he observed and decided to examine the issue himself. HyeonJoon awoke from his coma and fell asleep again. This time, however, it felt very different from when he encountered Carthago. Darkness filled the entire place. That person was HyeonJoon's other past life. He was supposed to be Sidon Miller, but HyeonJoon's soul stole him. HyeonJoon took a short-cut to meet HyeonJoon to show him that he was much more helpful than others as HyeonJoon faced the impending dangers, and he then started teaching HyeonJoon a lesson. HyeonJoon's spirit was the embodiment of darkness, a power that was the exact opposite of light, and his body dissolved in the fog. HyeonJoon would now go for HyeonJoon's heart, and if HyeonJoon could parry even one hit, the lesson would be finished. The swords steadily rose from the ground and began to attack HyeonJoon rapidly, and after thousands of deaths and resurrections, he finally completed the death course. The stronger he became, the easier it would be for him to become involved in nefarious activities, such as the shady behavior of the Intelligence Society. Returning to the present, HyeonJoon headed to the company's lobby to exchange products. He planned to sell the mana crystals and inspect the shield for a profit of over 20 million won and a 1 million won appraisal fee. Because there were no checkers available at the time, he had to wait a little longer. HyeonJoon gave the female inspector his hunter's license, and she instructed him to wait for a bit. Soon after, she called a certain company and let them know HyeonJoon was there. On Jung Sungmin's side, the director was concerned for Hyejin's safety because she hadn't responded to his messages in a while. He immediately gave the juniors permission to check the dungeon, and after speaking with the dungeon manager over the phone, Hyung-sok informed the director that every hunter who had entered the dungeon had died. His face became extremely angry. Sok then said that there was still a survivor of the punishment, and that was Kang HyeonJoon, who was waiting to have the shield checked. At this point, Park Ho approached HyeonJoon and stated that they needed to sit down on a chair nearby to talk. He proceeded to say that the investigation had gone without any problems and pulled HyeonJoon's risk card from his pocket. For HyeonJoon, the transition from F-class to C-class was already the best turning point. Kang HyeonJoon, the last person to survive in the dungeon, was to be captured and brought here, according to the chairman Sungmin's instructions. HyeonJoon joyfully celebrated with senior Seogyu, who was now quite popular in the dungeon administration. It was believed that an F-class hunter working as a porter was the lone survivor of a C-class dungeon. This was quite outstanding among hunters, while there were a few more unusual cases that were comparable to each other, not many, but all of them were second awakening hunters. Han Jin-woo, an SS-level hunter, was the most well-known of them all. Today, when people think of Asura, they think of the top society in the nation. Han Ji-woo was also the only person to have survived the dungeon and was the second hunter to awaken. He then joined the Asura Guild and rose to become the highest-ranking hunter in the country. According to rumors, he had a not-so-sociable attitude, was incredibly strong, and preferred to work alone. Seogyu advised HyeonJoon to take care of himself because he had struggled ever since he was an orphan. Perhaps this was the memory he avoided talking about the most. HyeonJoon took Seogyu to the bus station. Seogyu was a little drunk. Before getting on the bus, he was still trying to reassure HyeonJoon that everything would be alright. HyeonJoon smiled cheerfully and swiftly walked home. Along the way, he spotted two individuals after him, so HyeonJoon's spirit overcame him. They didn't say anything but immediately pulled out their weapons and forced him to go with them, and while HyeonJoon seemed to be terrified, on the inside he was ecstatic. He smiled wickedly and claimed they'd made a big error. The assassin Cheon-ho instantly drew two assault swords towards HyeonJoon, two fatal slashes at the danger spot, but HyeonJoon easily dodged. HyeonJoon blended into the darkness, his form dissolving into smoke. The assassin kept swinging his knife towards HyeonJoon, but HyeonJoon stopped him. He then made an appearance from behind, his hand emitting black energy that pierced the assassin's heart. HyeonJoon then swiftly took one of the man's knives. The other man also started to move. He drew upon his many years of combat experience and hurriedly attacked towards HyeonJoon. But HyeonJoon avoided him gently. He was like a fog in the shadows until he emerged behind that man. It was at that point that that man's body had been gravely hurt. HyeonJoon asked the man who was responsible, but he of course would keep it a secret. However, this was also predicted by HyeonJoon, so HyeonJoon immediately killed him, after which HyeonJoon's darkness devoured the bodies of the other two people, erasing any traces of their presence in the area. HyeonJoon happily celebrated the victor's joy. Upon his return home, he was exhausted and fell asleep. The next morning, Seogyu contacted HyeonJoon and informed him that he had signed HyeonJoon up for a team. Upon hearing this, HyeonJoon left the bowl of noodles unfinished and immediately took a cab to work, but his car was unexpectedly struck by fire. The taxi carrying HyeonJoon was abruptly attacked, and flames struck the front of the car hard. HyeonJoon hurried out of the car, then the smoke was blown away, and a goblin magician showed up in front of him. This wasn't just one. It was an army of goblins storming out of the dungeon door as the wizard recited the spell and started to direct an attack. The goblins would attack everyone they came across. If that were the case, the neighborhood would be in chaos, so HyeonJoon paused for a moment before assaulting. He needed to knock down the leader immediately, but it was harder than he expected, as they kept blocking his advance. However, since he was no longer a weakling, HyeonJoon hurriedly approached the leader. As their strength contrasted, HyeonJoon moved aside, but the leader was already lying dead on the ground, assisted by a girl wielding a French sword. She felt sorry for HyeonJoon's talent and said that she didn't have much time left, so she asked him directly if he wanted to join her offensive squad. After handing her the business card, she hastily walked away. It was an invitation from the Ace Guild, which had gained a lot of popularity recently, but HyeonJoon had to take care of this thing before joining. Cries for help were coming from the underground mall, despite the rule that hunters had to join when the dungeon appeared. No matter how strong he was, it was still too risky to fight the goblins. He got the thought that if he did his job effectively, he might be able to reach the SS rank like Han Jin-woo, but he quickly dismissed it and went into the mall, which was in ruins after being set on fire. As soon as HyeonJoon saw evidence of the bodies being cleaned up, someone who was badly hurt emerged from the building and attempted to warn HyeonJoon to get out. This time the dungeon seemed strange, as if someone had intervened. Suddenly, a group of assassins appeared here, infuriating HyeonJoon, who demanded to know whose organization they belonged to. A person said they were the Eco Guild's enforcement squad, and this got them angry. The subordinates began to assault. The slashes were quite sharp but did not make it difficult for HyeonJoon at all. He was adept at avoiding attacks, even in the dark. At this moment, he also brought out the sword from his side. He dodged the attacks while watching for their weaknesses, and then he blocked that guy's final slash. Following the fatal slash block, they started to charge at each other, but HyeonJoon stopped them with a delicate shield swing that quickly defeated one of them. Then he brought out his sword and killed another opponent, who panicked but didn't dare rush before also falling to HyeonJoon's sword. HyeonJoon rapidly killed 3 of them, leaving only the ringleader. Realizing he had little chance of winning, the leader devised an idea to temporarily leave. After the leader launched a smoke bomb, he sprinted to attack, but his aim was on the injured hunter behind him. HyeonJoon didn't give the leader a chance and struck the sword directly into the man's body before slicing across his abdomen. HyeonJoon defeated the entire execution team by himself. His strength appeared to grow significantly. The hunter next to him was shocked by this bizarre event, and he then inquired about HyeonJoon's name and rank. The level didn't really matter to HyeonJoon. He simply left his name and turned to leave, but before he could move, the man called him back. His name was Kim Tae-min, and he was the leader of the execution team for the renowned guild race. After giving it some thought, HyeonJoon made the decision to call Tae-min. As soon as Tae-min heard HyeonJoon's voice, he gleefully hurried downstairs to the office. The two then went to a local cafe and began talking. After discussing everything about the guild, Tae-min gave HyeonJoon something, which was a special space bag. As a result, HyeonJoon got suspicious and wondered if Tae-min had something he wanted to ask HyeonJoon. And as HyeonJoon had anticipated, this was a request from the race guild. Tae-min was requesting HyeonJoon to save their race guild since he had previously seen HyeonJoon's incredible abilities, and now he was certain of HyeonJoon's abilities. Tae-min bowed and asked HyeonJoon for help. At that point, HyeonJoon's mind was unexpectedly interrupted by a voice. It was from another powerful soul. He wanted HyeonJoon to accept the request this time, but he needed to hear from the race guild first. They would shortly participate in a private fight with the Eco Guild. This battle was between the enforcement teams, but unlike regular matches, there was no referee, so participants were free to kill one another. Despite obtaining the blessing of death, HyeonJoon firmly declined. The space bag could be very wonderful, but he could be slain at any time, making it too risky for this lethal offer. Tae-min, on the other hand, had complete faith in HyeonJoon and was eventually able to persuade him to join. HyeonJoon went to the administration to enter the dungeon, but rank C was already full, In order to enter higher-level dungeons, one must be accompanied by an official assault team member or a hunter of level A or higher. Upon talking about the attacking squad, HyeonJoon thought about the girl from the Ace Guild who had been here at his invitation. HyeonJoon then got right to the point and inquired as to whether the official dungeon attack team had a set schedule. There was no set time, but they would shortly begin a B-level conquest, in which he may take part as an experience. HyeonJoon, dressed in fine clothing, stood in front of the home early the next morning. At this time, a luxury car arrived and invited him into the car. The big guild's offensive squad was truly classy. HyeonJoon stepped out of the car like an official member, and in front of him stood the Ace Guild's attack team, which included the A-level magical world hunter Choi Han-sok, Yisul's older brother, and especially a Siskan. His personality was similar to his sister's, and he was continually urging HyeonJoon to join their guild. When another team member called HyeonJoon away, he pulled out a sword and gave it to him. Even though it was only a loan, it was much better than what HyeonJoon was using. Since the level of the dungeon they were entering was B, the difficulty had increased significantly, so it was important to have strong weapons. Choi Han briefly discussed their strategy, stating that HyeonJoon, along with member Jin Hung, would be in the back to support his colleagues, while Yisul and her brother would be in the middle to fight long range and take out foes. The other two tankers would stand in front, and the remaining Gwangbei would raid in the dark. Everything was ready, and Han-sok formally opened the dungeon gate. The crew encountered an attacking enemy upon entering the dungeon. They were psychic monsters. Han-sok rapidly recited spells and defeated a large number of monsters, but this enraged the others. The squad began to engage in furious combat, with each member taking on their very own duties. They battled systematically, as they had done in countless previous encounters. Han-sok in the center launched tremendous energy rays, killing a lot of monsters. The team was so good that HyeonJoon rolled his eyes in surprise. The team was so amazing that HyeonJoon rolled his eyes in astonishment. The low-level monsters had been dispatched, leaving just the last boss. This would undoubtedly be a challenge for the whole team. Surroundings were unusually quiet as the team stood in front of the last door. A scary look appeared in the darkness. The monster attacked Gwangbei. That is Nightmare, a spacetime monster with strong fighting power. There were about 12 in total. Even though they were B-level hunters, this number was still a bit too much for them. Tanker began to fight back. Han-sok also became more serious. He clenched his fist and emitted terrible energy. A straight punch to the ground, its power is quite strong. Although the number of monsters decreased after that move, the team's stamina was gradually depleted. This moment is when the male lead HyeonJoon makes his move. If we can't go out now, it will be very dangerous for the whole team. Hero Dan Ji-hee's will penetrates his body. HyeonJoon rushes into the monsters alone. You are stronger than anyone here right now. One sword kills one monster. Reflexes are also extremely sharp. Adding help from Han-sok further increased his fighting spirit to its peak. He quickly dealt with the remaining two monsters. The whole team was tired, but the boss still hadn't appeared. HyeonJoon felt something coming, and sure enough, it was another attack. He took out his shield to block, but the blow was so strong that he lost feeling in his hand. At this time, Dan Ji-hee's soul continued to buff his recovery ability. His strength suddenly became stronger again. Yisul's attack buff time is 5 minutes, which is enough for him to defeat the boss. HyeonJoon alone faced it head-on. He slashed his sword once and it also attacked back in one stroke. But the weight it causes is still too great. HyeonJoon is forced to think of another way to destroy it. Maybe he'll give up the magic stone and smash the nucleus. HyeonJoon immediately rushed up. With a strong slash on the monster's body, magic stones appeared. Seizing this good opportunity, he slashed the magic stone. The victory belongs to HyeonJoon. This is the power of the Second Awakener. Despite winning, Gwangbei was seriously injured. HyeonJoon also didn't want to bother, so he greeted everyone and went outside first. After the battle, the reward he received was 50 million won. He was tired and fell asleep. The soul of the last sword saint was waiting for him. Hung stepped inside the soul of the holy knight. In front of him was a sword that emitted infinite energy. He held the sword in his hand. It was much more beautiful than the swords he had used. Stepping out from the darkness, the sword saint Sidon Miller appeared. It was the first time the two met, but HyeonJoon felt very familiar. Before that, he used the Holy Sword skill set to destroy the skeleton soldiers. HyeonJoon remembered the feeling of manipulating mana, the flow of energy surrounding his body. Like when using the older shield, the mana flow will circulate into the sword, creating a layer of ki on the outside. Only this time it's much harder than the shield. Sidon Miller comes to help. He regulated the mana source in his body, then pushed it all into the sword, creating a tremendous flow of mana. But suddenly receiving a large amount of power caused his body to suffer a lot of backlash. They called it a conflict of magic power. If that was reality, he would be dead. HyeonJoon still wants to keep trying. Seems like he just wants to get stronger quickly. After many mana transfers, it seemed that he used the older blade perfectly. The first step has been completed. All that remains is Sidon Miller's swordsmanship. He will pass on swordsmanship to you. Beautiful swords were slashed. Sharp, flexible, powerful, without a redundant movement. It is so perfect that there is not a single gap. Each sword path is closely linked with each other. Move to dodge, while launching swords perfectly. All these moves, if HyeonJoon can master it, nothing can stop him, and then HyeonJoon embarks on training. He had passed Carthago's training, so his confidence was greatly enhanced, and after a period of hard training their meeting time was over. HyeonJoon returns to the real world, while Sidon Miller is unusually serious. He went to a nearby forest to practice swordsmanship. Remembering those perfect swords, HyeonJoon started copying. The battle with the Eco Guild was about to take place. He had to train hard in order to win. With Miller's swordsmanship, he was completely capable of that. The day of the battle with the Eco Guild has also arrived. HyeonJoon sat in the guild car to the venue. He seriously asked the number of members that could participate, including himself, 2 B rankers and 4 C ranks. As for the Eco Guild, they would probably join this battle with all their might. The fate of the race will be decided by HyeonJoon, because only he can bring them victory. Their car went to the venue. HyeonJoon also changed into another outfit. He could feel the killing intent around him. It looked like there was an ambush here. From the moment they arrived at this place, the battle between the two guilds had officially begun. HyeonJoon rushes to another place. He will deal with the ambush guys ahead. Pulling out 2 swords from the air, he quickly killed 2 nearby enemies, killing one each with 1 slash. The Eco Guild couldn't afford to lose any more members. They assembled the entire enforcement team and raided. Tae Min ordered to protect and support HyeonJoon from behind. Many people died under the enemy's blade. Realizing that the situation was not good, the leader of the Eco Guild decided to join in. If he defeats him, the other minions will automatically retreat. HyeonJoon directly stood up to fight the leader. The 2 swords collided with each other, and because of that, a lot of mana escaped. HyeonJoon completely blocked all of his attacks. Sidon Miller's swordsmanship was really strong, and then he forced him into a passive position. Suddenly he was attacked by a guy outside. Although he blocked the fire, he also created an opportunity for him. HyeonJoon quickly blocked the sword. He advised him to surrender, because more than half of the race people had been killed. But surrender was not in his dictionary. HyeonJoon was still determined to counterattack the leader. And this also means that you will have to defeat many enemies alone. The Eco Guild's wizards continued to attack. HyeonJoon was forced to kill them first. But now his magic power was exhausted. He asked for help from Carthago, Hashashin, Sidon Miller, but no one answered. He prayed to another soul, any soul, and finally a soul responded to his call. The blood of the carnage awakened the killer Reaper, who was sleeping. Some dead lives will be freed. He heard your call, and rose from hell. Dark magic covered his body. Killing words were constantly running through my head. Magic power was being loaded into my body. He pushed mana into the sword and then gently moved back, killing 2 enemies quickly. The smell of fresh blood stimulated Reaper. In that moment, his hunting instinct turned him into a cold-blooded killer. The enemy's weak point was already in front of him. He just needed to slash at those places. Enemies were repeatedly killed under his blade. Only 2 people left. With the power of the Reaper it should be enough. They also did not want to wait to die, and quickly counterattacked. HyeonJoon struggled to resist. His body also weakened a lot. But it didn't affect his sword much either. He directly killed the other guy. He tried to break his sword, but the dark magic made him give up on that thought. Even so, he still managed to hold onto the sword, giving the leader a chance to strike. But HyeonJoon not only knows how to use swords, he also uses shields very well. Captain Iko was defeated after a single attack from HyeonJoon, even though he was an A-level swordsman. The other guy tried to run away but he didn't let him. Sent him to hell. The war will end if one of the two guilds is destroyed. HyeonJoon needs to kill all of the Iko guild to be sure. So even if the enemy lost the will to fight, he still had to kill them all. The battle is over, the race has won. HyeonJoon alone killed 6 enemies, including the captain of the Iko guild. This proves that the Reaper soul has helped him a lot. The reward HyeonJoon won after this battle is 150 million won. As soon as they failed on the battlefield, they immediately informed the vice president. He announced that a mercenary from the race guild had defeated many members of the guild. The vice president ordered an investigation to find out who that mercenary was, who could sweep an entire party. 150 million for an unpublicized clan battle in return. HyeonJoon had to risk his life. But for his family, the children at his orphanage will do everything to make them have a better life. The next morning, HyeonJoon prepared a gift box and stood in front of the orphanage. He opened the door and walked in. In front of him was Sojin, his childhood friend. She came here to take care of the director's health. She is also old, so her health has deteriorated a lot, but she still insists that she is healthy and tells Sojin to return to be a hunting assistant. She is the one in charge of clearing the dungeons, and her current rank is C. It will be difficult to arrange the work at the orphanage and cleaning the dungeon. HyeonJoon told Sojin to pay attention to taking care of her health. She smiled and said thank you. Today HyeonJoon came here bringing a lot of things for the kids, cookies and a few other things. He would be happy to see the children grow up day by day. His purpose of making money is just to take care of this orphanage that he considers his family. When asked by the director if he did anything dangerous, he tried to avoid the answer. The director is very happy because HyeonJoon has grown up a lot. From an isolated child, Sojin was his first friend. Both of them happily went through a long journey, even after graduating from high school. When he awakened his hunter power, even though he was only F level, everyone was very happy. This was the happiest moment of his life. And now he has grown up, becoming an adult who can shoulder the family's debt. The money he earns will be used to pay off the orphanage's debt. When the children saw HyeonJoon, they were very happy. The children competed to open the gift box in his hand and did not forget to say thank you. But then the kids abandoned him, because of the pizza. When HyeonJoon came here, he bought another pizza for everyone. He and Sojin also went inside to eat with everyone. The children ate very well. After all, this was their first time eating pizza. Suddenly the soul of Sergeant God warns of the existence of a stalker. HyeonJoon immediately reacted and told everyone to hide under the table. He quickly pulled out his shield, and blocked the sudden attack. The explosion destroyed the entire wall. After the smoke and dust cleared, HyeonJoon immediately went into fighting mode. Carthago the Shield of Justice, and Miller the Sword Saint, both are blessing you. Sojin wanted to help, but she was a recovery support so she couldn't do anything. There were 20 of them and they were all C-rank hunters. In front of the overwhelming number, but HyeonJoon was unafraid. You will face all 20 assassins alone. They all rushed forward at the same time, using many moves. Thanks to Carthago's protection, he was not injured at all, but instead, he quickly counterattacked. He cornered one man and slashed him with one slash. The remaining guys started to feel scared. The leader ordered an attack on Sojin and the children. He didn't have time to run over to block the attack, so he had no choice but to throw his shield to block the attack. He didn't have a shield to protect him, nor an opportunity for them to attack, but Miller's swordsmanship was powerful. He swung his sword at them, and killed 3 of them. His body was injured everywhere, but there were still 11 assassins left. He angrily shouted loudly, "Save me and Reaper. The murderer has awakened, he will solve your deadlock." Then the dark ropes appeared. HyeonJoon took the opportunity to kill 2 more people. After that, he was exhausted and the Reaper's dark power was neutralized. HyeonJoon tried to resist but was still seriously injured by them. In the end, his body could not bear it and fell down. Sojin quickly ran out to recover, but the wound never healed. His condition was extremely serious. His consciousness gradually lost and then the words of a soul came to his mind. That person said, "Fight to protect your loved ones. If needed, he will lend you his strength." Another mysterious door will appear. HyeonJoon pushed the door open. In front of him was a pile of corpses lying around. And the person sitting on that pile of corpses is the next soul that will give him power. His name is Danzig, who cannot protect important things. In his eyes there was only hatred and despair. He did not allow him to follow his own mistakes because he was their reincarnated soul. If you are confident enough to endure Danzig's pain, he will give you the strength to protect those you love. HyeonJoon clenched his fists and firmly affirmed that as long as he could save them, he would do anything. Danzig was satisfied with the answer, and showed him his own past. HyeonJoon appears in a beautiful flower garden, where he will not be able to speak or participate in the story. In the foreground is Danzig in his youth. He has an adorable young child. The two people are extremely close to each other. Next to him is Anna, his beautiful wife. Danzig's family is all safe right now. They are very similar to HyeonJoon's relatives. Then Craig ran over in a panic to announce something important. The invasion command has been established. They are targeting their kingdom and hell begins from here. All members of his family were killed, including close subordinates. Everything happened right in front of him. This despair made his soul always tormented. Danzig's screams of pain awakened HyeonJoon. If he cannot protect the children at the orphanage, everything that follows will be a tragedy. Danzig looked helplessly at the enemy standing in front of him. He shouted to them, "What crime did his family end up doing? Why did things turn out like this?" He didn't care and trampled on Danzig's body. He just got angry and lay there waiting for his death to come, and then he ended his life. This is what happened in the past. Currently Danzig has given strength to HyeonJoon. With this energy, he will have more courage to protect his family. Danzig has transferred all his remaining enthusiasm to HyeonJoon. The rest is up to his own determination. HyeonJoon has regained his confidence. His body radiated enormous energy. He stood up as if nothing had happened. Strength overflowed within the body. The people he was unable to protect, with Danzig's power in his body, as long as there are people left to protect, he will not fall. Along with the energy emitted from the Sidon Miller sword, as long as there is righteousness, the sword will never be broken. The cruel killing intent of the god of death has awakened. HyeonJoon released a fatal killing intent. The entire room was covered with demonic energy. HyeonJoon began to attack. His blade was now stronger than anything. They do not intend to sit still and wait to die. The leader launched an all-out assault. The lightning magic fell directly on HyeonJoon's body, but he still stood there, just his clothes were torn a little more. He didn't expect that his mortal body could withstand this high-level magic. The assassins now realize, HyeonJoon is much stronger than the information they have. He took off his torn shirt and continued to attack. Only this time his sword was much sharper. The melee fighters were all killed by him in one hit. The mages behind quickly unleashed their firepower. HyeonJoon lightly dodged and slashed straight at the leader. However, he is also not average. After blocking his attack, he launched a fatal slash. Although he tried to dodge, he was still touched by the sword. He looked at Sojin's panicked face and told himself he couldn't fall here. He regained his will and attacked back. The sword line emitted a tremendous amount of power. Finally he pierced the leader's body. He was still thinking about taking revenge on him later, but HyeonJoon tore him apart in an instant. He then looked at the other two, who trembled and surrendered and begged for forgiveness. HyeonJoon was silent and didn't say anything. He coldly lifted the sword and killed those two. Everyone in the orphanage was safe. HyeonJoon was exhausted, leading to fainting. He woke up in the hospital. Apparently his injuries weren't too serious. Sojin and Tae-min were waiting for him here. The Race Guild apologizes for their tardiness that led to things going too far. Most of the race people are entrenched in this hospital, so they won't be able to attack easily. While he was in a coma, something happened. First, Sojin was investigated by the police. The second thing is that the headmaster and the children are at the Race Guild's headquarters. They will be protected safely here. And there is one last thing, that is in the race, there is an insider. HyeonJoon wants Tae-min to completely deal with the spy. He will use all means to track down and deal with him. Soon after, Tae-min received a call that he had caught a spy. Tae-min goes to the spy detention place. He is tied to a chair. Tae-min hit his leg so hard that he cried out in pain. He was scared, repeatedly apologizing, but that did not affect Tae-min's interrogation. He pulled out a sword and began the interrogation to get a statement. Back with HyeonJoon, he entered the room of his previous life. There he meets Hashashin, the master of darkness. HyeonJoon frankly said that he needed Hashashin's strength. He wanted him to impart his secret arts and assassination skills to him. That's also what Hashashin intends to do. He will teach him complete invisibility. This was a high-level magic, even S-rank hunters couldn't do it. Hashashin goes straight to the point. He will explain in an easy-to-understand way. Simply put, invisibility is a form of magic that allows the user to hide in darkness. It's a high-level magic, so it consumes a lot of magic power. Hashashin will trap you in endless darkness. Because to hide in the dark, it is necessary to have a high compatibility with the dark. And being imprisoned in the darkness without end could lead to madness, but HyeonJoon is ready to accept the challenge. Darkness covered the entire room. As the days passed, his mind gradually eroded. HyeonJoon seemed about to go crazy. He didn't know how much time had passed. Can he complete the terrifying training? Unanswered questions continuously echoed in his head. HyeonJoon hugged his face and experienced torment in his mind, and then he hallucinated. He saw an image of himself in the past. They kept laughing and insulting him in the face. More and more of them appeared, and then the pain of the past made him awaken. Hashashin appeared and erased all the darkness in the room. Although he didn't necessarily pass the test, daring to confront the illusion helped him gain some power. He now had control over the Hashashin Sergeant God invisibility technique. Dominating the mainland is only a matter of time. The soul door closed. HyeonJoon woke up in the real world. He looked at the time on his phone. It hadn't even been an hour yet. Yet he felt like a year had passed there. At this time, Tae Min walked in and announced about the spy. HyeonJoon also asked more about the Echo Association's actions. Reports showed that they were preparing for a second attack. Hearing this, HyeonJoon immediately stood up. You will go and wipe out their execution gang. With your current strength, it's entirely possible. Standing in front of the Eco Association office, HyeonJoon entered a state of darkness. You will begin your assassination journey. Two guards were talking to each other. Suddenly one was killed instantly. The other man panicked and pulled out his gun, but before he could react, he was killed. HyeonJoon comfortably hid in the darkness, his body completely hidden. Next he rushed straight into the hallway of the organization. He passed other people like there was no one there. The night training really helped HyeonJoon a lot. He found the company's main power source and destroyed it. The whole building quickly fell into darkness. The guards sensed something unusual. One of them ran to check, but on the way was killed by HyeonJoon. He then teleported behind the other guy, and quickly killed him. He looked up to the 4th floor. The Eco Association's office was located there. Just kill them all and consider the mission complete. In the office, the deputy director noticed something unusual. Other buildings are still operating normally, only their building is without power. The deputy director ordered his subordinates to all bring weapons and get ready to fight, but immediately after that, 2 sea-level hunters were hacked to death. The light magic was activated, and they were bewildered by the departure of their comrades. The captain didn't even sense the intruder's presence. HyeonJoon felt uncomfortable with the light in front of him. Because of it he couldn't see clearly. So he would kill the light magic hunters first. They tried to maintain formation and run lighting planes, but it was useless against HyeonJoon's absolute power. He killed many hunters present here, leaving only 3 people, the captain and 2 weak hunters. He began to get scared, and suspected that the intruder was an S-rank hunter, and then 2 C-rank hunters were also killed. Only the captain, who was trembling, was left with fear. He shouted, "Stop hiding," and frantically slashed around the room. HyeonJoon didn't need to hide anymore. He officially revealed himself in front of him. When he heard his voice, he got mad. His hatred for HyeonJoon stemmed from the Hyejin incident, because he was the only one left alive after the dungeon, so he blamed him for killing Hyejin. And the person she got in the car that day was him. HyeonJoon is no longer an F-class loser. He had the power to protect his loved ones. Because he destroyed the orphanage, HyeonJoon came here to take revenge. He tried to attack him, but someone with the protection of heroes like HyeonJoon could easily handle this. He is an aura user, equivalent to an A-level hunter. There is no doubt that an A-level hunter's abilities are very strong. Because of his strength, he was able to confront HyeonJoon directly. His sword is clad in fire energy, and his slashes are also very powerful. His whole body glowed red, but that didn't make HyeonJoon tremble. He even mocked him for being so incompetent. and a rank hunter that failed under your skill. Thanks to crossing the boundary of life and death hundreds of thousands of times, he was able to endure the pain emanating from that fire. He continued to attack. 1 slash was blocked by him. 2 slash, he blew the sword away. HyeonJoon fatally slashed him right in the middle of his stomach. He clutched his stomach in pain and shouted, "Do you know who's behind our group?" HyeonJoon didn't hesitate to kill him instantly. It turned out that there was still someone behind this incident. His family could still be in danger. At this moment, suddenly his head hurt so bad. The spirit of death wanted him to help him get the things he had in the office. The red aura led him to the hidden object, which was a short sword and chain. HyeonJoon took the object with him, and started using Hashushin's power. The corpses will be burned, and the building will be blown up. Thus, the criminal evidence of HyeonJoon will be completely erased. The big burning building attracted the attention of the people. Especially the special police are also present here. The captain asked the people to gather more information. At this time, the subordinates rushed to report that there was no one in the building, not even a body was discovered. HyeonJoon stood in the dark corner listening to the entire conversation. He felt secure because he had cleaned up the evidence, but if he stood here he would be suspected because his clothes had burn marks. HyeonJoon called Tae-min to report the situation. But before he could say a few words, his body suddenly lost its strength and fainted on the spot. On the side of the congressman's building, the secretary informed him that the Eco Guild had been annihilated. The spread of the fire caused damage to the functions of the enforcement team. He had invested a lot of money in the Eco Association, so this failure caused him a huge loss. The secretary also said, during the war with the race group, there was a mercenary who helped them defeat the Eco group. The congressman thinks that Oh-sung group may have had a hand in this. He ordered the secretary to summon the Silver Tier group to deal with the race group and HyeonJoon, who was believed to be a mercenary. HyeonJoon enters another world, the room of a previous life. He met a person claiming to be the god of death here. He came to get the object he had asked HyeonJoon to get earlier. Inside, only the necklace remained, and when he saw it, he cried with happiness. This is the last keepsake left by his beloved. The image of his wife suddenly appeared before him. The two people loved each other very deeply. This love transcended all laws of time. Even though hundreds of years have passed, he still loves her as much as ever, and what makes him happiest right now is meeting her soul. Thanks to HyeonJoon, thanks for your help. He said that he would definitely repay you for giving him this moment. To express his gratitude, the god of death increased his empathy towards his previous life. HyeonJoon woke up with tears in his eyes. Perhaps because the touching story of the angel of death touched his heart. The ability to empathize with past lives is a form of ability. If you enter the room of your past life, you will be empowered by that person. Passing through the thresholds also increases your empathy for them. An increase in empathy can increase the user's strength. HyeonJoon even felt their pain and emotions. That's why he cried when he witnessed the scene just now. Inside the wooden box is a short sword. Perhaps the necklace was taken by the god of death. He looked at the sword and quickly put it in his space bag. At this time, Tae-min came to check on his health and informed about the Eco Association. They suffered a lot of damage. It's only been a day, but the official members have already begun to leave the association. Special police conducted an investigation but did not find anything useful. The person behind the Eco group is still a mystery to HyeonJoon. The next day, HyeonJoon took the short sword to check. He was surprised because this was not a normal weapon but a sealed one. Sealing equipment is divided into several types. This short sword will dissolve each layer of sealing if it meets its special conditions. Currently, this short sword can absorb B-level magic and can arbitrarily strengthen the user's body. According to the information he found out, this weapon, the murderer, could reach S rank if he unsealed it to the last floor. In addition, it also has a recall function. Just say the word recall loudly, and it will return to the owner. The appraisal was completed. HyeonJoon directly brought out his VIP card to pay. Going outside, he received a call from Tae-min. He asked him to come check out the house he had chosen. The interior made him very satisfied. HyeonJoon immediately closed the order to buy this house. Seeing HyeonJoon's arrogant face made the heroes surprised. They didn't expect him to be so happy when he had so much money. Just like this muscular man, wouldn't it be better to use money to gain more muscle? Carthago slammed the table and shouted loudly, "I am extremely disappointed in you. Having a little money and having a good reputation is really embarrassing." Returning to HyeonJoon, he happily visited the children. They're safe, and Sojin is here too. He wanted to tell her something. Just now he went to sign the house contract. All house buying procedures have been completed. Sojin is very grateful for your kindness. Maybe the kids will like it too, but she's more worried about him. To earn that much money, he had to go through many dangerous battles. HyeonJoon said he was okay. He would hire security guards and install an automatic system. He just wants his family to live happily. After speaking, he was about to leave, but Sojin pulled him back. She wants you to sleep at home tonight. The atmosphere between the two gradually became awkward. She even invited him to eat together. But HyeonJoon shyly refused and quickly ran back to his room. Sojin sat alone on the sofa. She knows HyeonJoon wants to protect everyone in the orphanage because it is his only home. To do that, HyeonJoon had to suffer a lot. She didn't want to see him get blood on his hands and then lose himself. HyeonJoon lay on the bed thinking about Sojin's words at that time. It was the first time he saw her act like that. Right after that, Hashashin's warning echoed in his head. An enemy has broken into the room. HyeonJoon quickly took out the shield. There are 3 people in total. If you don't handle it quickly, your family will be in danger. HyeonJoon used his shield to block the assassination attack. He discovered one person was a wind-type assassin. His chanting speed is so fast, you'll have to use your shield to stop him first. He quickly charged forward. The short sword also suddenly flew in front of him. HyeonJoon successfully defeated one person followed by the other. He flew into the air and smashed the shield right into his face. 2 people had been defeated, but before that he had felt the traces of 3 people. Noticing something unusual, he immediately ran to Sojin's room. Indeed, she is in danger. Suddenly, the short sword from earlier flew to attack. HyeonJoon takes the opportunity, pulls out Miller's sword and kills the other. Even though the family members were safe, the race members didn't move at all. He immediately called Taemin, but he didn't answer the phone. Looks like the race below was also attacked. Before the special police department comes here, you will be the guardian of this place. The race club is downstairs. They suffered serious damage after the attack. Taemin's face became haggard. He is sad and tells HyeonJoon, the high-ranking members of race have been killed. The president's chair is currently vacant. After witnessing HyeonJoon sacrificing his life to save them, Taemin wanted him to sit on the president's chair. Even though he was not the strongest, Taemin felt hope emanating from him. Taemin begs HyeonJoon to lead his guild. In HyeonJoon's head, the voice of a hero rang out. He was very interested in the position of leader of a black organization, and found this offer very interesting. He advised him to accept. He was a bit hesitant at first, but when he learned that becoming the guild master would manage all aspects of the organization, including the execution team, he agreed to this request. Because then your family will be more protected. Right after that, he told Taemin to bring all the documents back to the association for him to study. The pride of race is that it has quite good financial condition, but the number of official members is very small and the organization of the association is not on a large scale. The previous guildmaster had formed the guild to benefit from the magic stones, and the execution team itself was just established not too long ago. HyeonJoon decided to change his operating plan. From now on they will follow the pre-planned attack strategy. In addition, they also have to pay attention to the person behind the eco group. Perhaps they will send more assassins to attack here. So the first thing HyeonJoon wants to do is strengthen the members of the association. Next is the acquisition of the Eco Association. It is said to be a purchase, but actually it is a public declaration of war between the 2 associations. The associations will send 9 representatives to compete in a one-on-one format. During the competition, if no one loses or declares a change, they will continue to face the next opponents in the arena. You must defeat all enemies to win the battle. HyeonJoon is thinking that he and Taemin will destroy all 9 representatives of the other association. And before the match started, he wanted to reveal his name in the list of members competing for the Eco Guild. The purpose is to make them subjective. Among the bodies that the Special Police Department is confirming, there will be a few people from Eco's enforcement organization. HyeonJoon will ask them to pay damages. He also guessed that the Eco Association would not pay compensation, but he wanted to take this opportunity to organize a fight with Iko in the presence of the police department. A few days later, Tae Min came to visit the children and by the way discussed work with HyeonJoon. Just like HyeonJoon's plan, the Eco Society accepted the declaration of war. Even so, the leader of the Eco Guild, Choi Na-young, was still very angry about the failed assassination. He looked at the match request paper and sighed. It seems that this battle will be the end for one of the two guilds. And according to the race guild's list of competitors, there is one B-level person, the rest are C-level. Choi Na-young mobilized 5 B-level hunters to participate, and thought she would win this match. The story of Race's declaration of war spread throughout the city. Everyone believes that the race group will not be able to win. The rumors reached the ears of S-class hunter, Lee Jin-ah, the second daughter of the jail corporation. She was sitting and talking with a level hunter, Park Sok-yeon. What surprised her was that HyeonJoon had just promoted to rank C and was able to climb to the position of guild master. He was originally ranked F, but after that life and death battle he was promoted to rank C. Sok-yeon continued. Hearing that in the middle of the B-rank dungeon attack, HyeonJoon destroyed the entire group of hunters. This is information from the dungeon management department, so it is completely accurate. They also suspected that he was the second awakened person, but because there was not enough evidence, they had to ignore him. Sok-yeon personally feels that HyeonJoon is a rare talent. If he continues to develop his strength in the near future, it is possible that he will become the top hunter. And to be sure, if he is the one who awakens for the second time, the upcoming match will be clarified. If you are truly the one who awakens for the second time, Sok-yeon will invite you to join his team. 10 days after the battle line meets, and also 10 days before the previous life appears. HyeonJoon always has to practice alone. Without the help of his previous life, his strength did not increase. HyeonJoon was a little angry at Miller's sword. He madly released a powerful source of energy. After a terrible slash, HyeonJoon remembered the past. When he was in school, he was always bullied by his friends. Only Sojin stood up to protect him. She is a beautiful flower that makes your life more colorful. And when he became the awakened one, he was very happy. He was happy because he thought that he had the strength to protect his beloved family. He tried to work hard every day, endure the humiliation caused by others, but in the end the results were too bad for what he put in. If he didn't have the soul of his past life, would he still be able to protect everyone? Or will he go back to being the useless incompetent of the old days? Thoughts kept popping into his head. HyeonJoon doesn't want to wait silently for help. He will break through his own power as long as he has faith. Miller's sword will never break. HyeonJoon tired to the ground. He covered the moon with his hand and felt the air. He would definitely win the coming battle. Whether he had a previous life or not, he would fight with all his might. HyeonJoon returned home with a tired body. The sound of footsteps woke Sojin up. She was very worried about his health. HyeonJoon finished showering and sat on the bed. He closed his eyes to sleep, and hoped that his past life might appear. HyeonJoon sank deep to the bottom of the sea. He struggled to swim out of the water. After 5 minutes, he couldn't bear it anymore and removed his hand from his neck, not expecting that he could breathe underwater. Suddenly a light appeared below. His body automatically went towards it. HyeonJoon gradually sank into that warm light. He woke up in a familiar room. Suddenly a hand patted him on the shoulder. It was Han Sojin. She happily pulled him somewhere else. The image of Sojin holding his hand like this has appeared in the past. She led him to a room, in front of everyone in the orphanage. Today is the day everyone congratulates you on awakening as a hunter, an important and beautiful memory. That day he was very happy, a happiness he had never felt before. Even though he looked back at that beautiful memory, he felt uneasy. And then, in front of him a giant shark appeared. It turned its eyes towards him and suddenly opened its big mouth to swallow HyeonJoon. He fainted in the monster's belly and then suddenly returned to his body in the past. The pain of the flesh, the image of those who fear the horror, and the image of the sister Sojin reaching out to protect her family. These images were deeply ingrained in his mind. They were debt collectors. The dean tried to kneel down and beg him not to scare the children. But he directly kicked her. Luckily Sojin protected her. She said loudly, "I will repay the debt." As a C-rank healing hunter, she has a pretty good income. HyeonJoon also spoke up about being an F-rank hunter and being able to quickly repay his debt. But when he heard that you were an F-rank hunter, he immediately expressed disdain. You can't refute because what he said is very true. Before leaving, he especially slapped him once. That night, although everyone was safe, it left a deep pain in his mind. Sojin tried to calm HyeonJoon's spirit but it seemed to have no effect. He cried a lot and that night was also the time he despaired of himself. And until now, he still tries to increase his strength because of the helplessness of that day. HyeonJoon opened his eyes, in front of him was the light of the future. He won't torment himself anymore, because now he has the power to protect everyone. He woke up again, the holy land of Carthago opened right in front of him. HyeonJoon was happy to see Carthago again. Right now he only has one wish, which is to be stronger than anyone. Only then will your family be safe. Feeling HyeonJoon's determination, Carthago showed a satisfied smile. It seems like he only desires this now. HyeonJoon pulls out his sword and prepares to fight. The next technique that Carthago will teach you is how to counterattack with a shield, which will be completely different from using a shield to fight. This is the strongest counterattack technique in Carthago's dimension. Instead of explaining it verbally, he will demonstrate it for you first. HyeonJoon launched an attack. His attack was very strong. But for Carthago it was nothing, he didn't even move a bit. When the two energy sources collide, Carthago's shield directly absorbs HyeonJoon's energy and then releases twice as powerful an energy source. This is the strongest technique that Carthago will teach you. What HyeonJoon needs to do is endure this huge source of energy. Immediately after that, a series of rays of light shot straight at HyeonJoon. Just when Carthago thought he had failed, HyeonJoon still stood firm after a series of attacks. He succeeded in adopting Carthago's technique. The day of the battle between guilds has arrived. Everyone was present in the race club's waiting room. Everyone was tense and scared. Suddenly, a guy from the eco group pushed the door and walked in. He blatantly scolded members of the race association. HyeonJoon stopped Tae-min from acting rashly. He went directly in front of him and warned him for the first time. If he refuses to come out, you will break his legs here. But he was not afraid at all and instead arrogantly scolded him. At this moment, HyeonJoon was really angry. He released a lot of scary murderous intent outside. The terrible pressure made him tremble in fear. HyeonJoon's face looked like death. He imprisoned him in a dark illusion. This murderous aura was like an evil eye looking at its prey. He knelt in pain in front of HyeonJoon, then he coldly said goodbye, go away. He was scared and quickly ran away, because he released a lot of killing intent, so he accidentally merged with the spirit of the god of death. He almost killed someone, but luckily he was able to control his strength. Witnessing this terrifying scene, the members of the guild were also somewhat afraid and they also had more faith in this young guild master. Going outside, in front of them was a stadium crowded with spectators. This is a testament to the fact that the hunter community pays a lot of attention to the guild masters. There were also HyeonJoon's family members cheering on the stands. The commentator announced that the battle between the eco and race guilds was about to begin. Please invite the players to step onto the playing field. Tae-min was the first to compete. He is full of enthusiasm. HyeonJoon only asked him to beat 2 opponents. And Tae-min's first opponent is Seo Jin-soo, a B-level mage hunter. The two sides heard the referee's signal, and the battle officially began. Tae-min immediately put on a fighting stance. While Jin-soo wasn't paying attention, he soared high and slashed the knife down. Jin-soo jumped back and opened the shield. But this did not affect Tae-min. He turned the knife once and cut through Jin-soo's armor. He fell to the ground and surrendered. Tae-min wanted to continue hitting him but was stopped by the referee. Tae-min was happy. His face bloomed looking at HyeonJoon. Round 2 is also about to happen. Eco's player continued to play on the field and then the person who collapsed to the ground was also a member of the Eco Club. Despite winning, Tae-min was also seriously injured. He looked at HyeonJoon and decided to leave the field. Everything is going according to HyeonJoon's plan and the person who will fight the remaining battles is also him. The opponent in the third match was Hunter Choi Hyo-jin, a B-level hunter. HyeonJin stepped onto the field and immediately activated an energy aura. The audience was very excited about his strength, including Lee Jin-ah. As soon as the match started, Hyo-jin attacked very strongly but compared to her previous life, the battle was nothing. He defeated his opponent and went directly to round 4. The battle became overwhelmingly in HyeonJoon's favor, and after a few attacks, he advanced to the 5th match. If he wins this match, the race clan will win. Will win. His opponent was Sang Yun, an A-level melee hunter. The match had just begun and Sang Yun acted very quickly. He launched a very powerful move, but unfortunately was dodged by HyeonJoon. He jumped on Songhyun and threw the shield forward. This time he will use Carthago's ultimate move, a full counterattack. Behind HyeonJoon appeared many energy swords. Following his instructions, thousands of blades stabbed toward Songhyun. After a terrible explosion, he signaled surrender. In the end, the race group also won. A proud victory in front of many people. Guild Master Iko failed miserably and left soon after. HyeonJoon thinks about merging the two associations together as quickly as possible. HyeonJoon walked out of the arena. Tae Min was waiting for you here. He was treated and recovered from his injury. Right after that, the members of the association all walked in front of HyeonJoon. Everyone was surprised by his strength. The more people talked, the closer everyone got to HyeonJoon. At this moment, Tae Min took action to resolve this embarrassing scene. Hung wants to talk to Tae Min privately, but he'll deal with these people first. Now that it was only the two of them, HyeonJoon asked about going back to the game. Tae Min recorded it and posted it on the Tube forum. Tube is a video posting site that hunters frequently use. There are many types of videos posted, from introducing weapons to read, to introducing magic types. It was not possible to record videos inside the dungeon, so HyeonJoon could only film battle scenes to promote the guild. At the same time, this video will be the most effective shield for your race. At this time Sok Yun appeared in front of the two people. Tae Min cautiously reached out to protect HyeonJoon. But Sok Yun didn't come here to cause trouble, but to bring Lee Ji-ah to meet HyeonJoon. He looked at her aura and guessed she was S rank. Lee Ji-ah happily greeted and introduced herself. She is someone that HyeonJoon often met on TV before. He extended his hand to greet her, and asked her why she came to see him. HyeonJoon only knows that Child Group does not have any affiliated associations. Because she didn't feel the need to form an association, but when she witnessed HyeonJoon's strength. She wants to invite you to become an executive director at Child Group's affiliated association. At this moment, King Romanov's spirit asked him to strongly refuse the offer. If he went against this king's intentions, he wouldn't be able to receive Romanov's protection, and he did what the spirit said. Sok Yun wanted to ask why. He replied that he didn't like having someone else stand above him. If she offered the position of president, he would reconsider. Jin-ah started to be unhappy. She felt that he was a bit confident in himself, but it was true that he was very confident in himself. His value may be a bit low right now, but it will definitely be different in the future. Because today's HyeonJoon will be different from tomorrow's HyeonJoon. Then he coolly turned around and left. Jin-ah was not angry but felt very happy. She will watch and see what you can do. Although the goal of the two of them today was to keep Yeon-jun, his request was too high so they had to ignore it. She confidently said that even if he was to awaken for the second time, he would only stop at S rank and then he would regret it and come to me. Too much work makes HyeonJoon tired and collapse on the table. Tae Min gave him the form and told him that the silver tier continued to invite him to the association. As for the jail group, even though HyeonJoon refused, they will support the race group. With their help, participating in the S-rank dungeon will receive more rewards. But there is one problem that HyeonJoon needs to improve, which is his own ranking. The reason why the Gold and Platinum guilds have not yet taken action is because of HyeonJoon's official ranking. There will be many people who are dissatisfied with your C-rank ranking. In addition, the video uploaded to Tube also had many positive responses, including from the Dungeon Management Department. Maybe they will call you today. Tae Min went out to answer the phone, then panicked and informed HyeonJoon. Someone wants to meet you, and this guest is a bit special. It is one of 15 very rare Diamond Class associations in Korea. HyeonJoon quickly changed his expression and went outside. This person is the personnel director of the Innovation Guild, Im Dong-hyuk. He is a B-rank hunter. After a simple greeting, the three sat down to talk about the main story. He calls you a rising star. When he was invited to a regular exchange between leading associations, everyone there called him a rising star. Furthermore, any association that cares about discovering new talent will surely have seen your videos. He also came here for one purpose, which is to invite HyeonJoon to join their association. The contract is already on the table, if you just sign it, your career will skyrocket. But he still firmly refused, even though the conditions were very good, his choice was only one. HyeonJoon returned to work. After solving the problem, he received an invitation from Romanov. When he opened his eyes again, the light of the gate appeared before him. He slowly pushed the door open. Inside was all the gold, silver and jewels, and King Romanov was also revealed. HyeonJoon walked towards him, but the more he walked, the more pain his body became. Finally knelt before Romanov. He walked up to him and said, "I have been watching you for a long time." At first, most of the spirits objected and only Carthago stood up to help him. But before long, Sidon Miller and Hashishun both recognized him. His hidden power is shining more and more, so he will also give strength to HyeonJoon. Romanov held out his hand and began to perform the blessing. HyeonJoon's whole body suddenly caught fire, his body emitting flames that seemed to destroy every part of his body. The pain was tearing me apart, but fortunately the ritual had been completed. The cause of this pain was different from other souls, but he felt much better now. Romanov wanted him to use magic to rearrange the thoughts in his mind. He concentrated his mind to activate magic. In front of him, a small mirror appeared and suddenly it glowed and cracked. The scene that appears as a fierce battlefield, with bombs and explosions everywhere. At this time Romanov was the emperor of a country. His country was attacked, but he refused to flee. The final order from a king is for the soldiers to leave this place safely. The citadel was destroyed. Romanov smiled full moon. He pulled out his sword and shouted loudly. Then he rushed out onto the battlefield, but ended up being killed by the enemy. HyeonJoon woke up in a panic. It was just a Romanov scene. He couldn't concentrate on using his strength. Romanov didn't blame him. He smiled and said, "I will explain it to you carefully, so listen carefully. The way I bless each person is not difficult. Keep your eyes in a state of magical concentration and then turn towards the opponent and you're done. At that time, you will see the other person's true destiny, another name containing sincerity. Romanov is sure it will help you a lot. The time for the two of them to meet has ended. As long as you are under Romanov, he will always be by your side." Before leaving, he also said that knowing one's true destiny could also be a curse. HyeonJoon went to the living room to meet Sojin. By the way, since she was here, he also tested his new power. When he activated his eyes, he saw her true destiny. He happily sat down comfortably on the chair and asked Sojin about today's schedule. She volunteered to be a secretary to be with HyeonJoon more. It was time to go to work, so he went outside to wait for the bus. Seeing that, Tae-min finished his beer and followed him. By the way, he also checked his fate for him. That is the light of the blindly trusting knight. Arriving at work, HyeonJoon will receive a guest. He is Park Kyung-ho. A guest from the 2nd Division of the Dungeon Administration's Hunter Squad. He came here because of HyeonJoon's promotion. But before that, he wanted to see his hunter certificate. He was promoted to A rank as expected. He could now use this card to circulate in high-level dungeons. And there is one more thing that Kyung-ho wants to say, that is, wants HyeonJoon to become their exclusive hunter. And the request will come with conditions. HyeonJoon asked directly what their conditions were. Kyung-ho timidly hands over the contract. After reading it, he frowned. No matter how stupid he was, he knew that the treatment they offered was too low. He immediately gave it to Tae-min to solve. He was annoyed with this unreasonable treatment, and A rank hunter who was only treated as a B rank hunter. Tae-min walked in front of Kyung-ho and said, "Yesterday the head of Human Resources Innovation reached out. It was an extremely famous diamond association in the country." After hearing that, Kyung-ho could only look down in shame. He couldn't come up with better terms, because he didn't have the authority to do this. Ever since he saw your video on the tube, he thought they would never recruit you. Even though he really wanted him to be their exclusive hunter, the dungeon administration really didn't have the power to recruit him. Kyung-ho shyly picked up his bag and left. The day is coming to merge the two guilds together. It only takes 1 week to resolve everything. Sojin went out to make him a cup of coffee but bumped into Tae-min's chest. "He's here to tell you something important." The head of the reception and book handling department of the eco-enforcement team confirmed that the guild owner Choi Na-young had a black fund. Tae-min brought the processed documents and showed them to you. This black fund is so much that it is possible to set up a small association and still have enough left over. Tae-min came up with an idea that could handle this money in silence. There is still a little bit of internal documentation left, but as long as nothing goes out, this can happen. They can swallow all this dirty money. Tae-min went outside to smoke. He called Jong Seo to come out. Jong Seo is a B-rank combat-type hunter, and Tae-min's right-hand man. Jong Seo reported his mission and then Tae-min continued to give more missions, which was to handle the targets at the Eco Association. To put it simply, kill the rest of the Eco Guild. HyeonJoon didn't know about this, because Tae-min didn't want him to be covered in blood again. Heavy rain covered the whole city. In the dark corner of a small alley, Choi Na-young is struggling to beg for mercy. He was no longer a guild master, the only thing waiting for him was death. Tae-min pulled out a knife and decisively killed him. The Eco Guild was officially annihilated. Taemin assigns Jong Seo to handle the rest and he will return to meet HyeonJoon. Receiving the call, Tae-min immediately informed him that the General Department of Guild Management had completed the procedure to merge the two guilds. And now the Eco Guild will no longer exist. All relevant documents will be transferred here. Even so, Eco's members also started leaving the guild. They don't like working for the race party. According to Tae-min's statistics, the number of people leaving the team must be up to half and almost all the key members of the attack team have left. In order to attack the dungeon, the number of team members leaving the guild must be minimized. Even if it is necessary to amend the compensation conditions in the contract, it must be done. Right now, only Baek Han-soo was left with the remaining A-rank hunters. Initially, Eco didn't have many A-level hunters. The number of attack team members and regular members was small, so the size of the enforcement team was a bit larger than them. Eco was created for the purpose of doing dirty work for the power behind it, to put it simply. HyeonJoon wanted to meet this remaining A-class member face to face and he sat in the waiting room early. After a brief greeting, HyeonJoon looked at his true destiny. The pioneer has a righteous heart, that is the aura he holds. HyeonJoon said straight to the point, he wanted Han-soo to stay with race. The terms of the contract will be adjusted to suit his ability. Even so, he still felt like something was missing. It was that he wanted to attack an S-rank dungeon. In the Eco Guild, he had never attacked an S-rank dungeon before. That made him very angry. To put it simply, he was a crazy fan of dungeons. Only an S-rank dungeon could satisfy his killing lust. Right now race is not strong enough to attack an S-level dungeon. But soon, when HyeonJoon becomes an S-level guild master, entering an S-level dungeon will definitely be possible. Han-soo believes in it, because he watched your great match. That last counterattack was so perfect that it was terrifying. Realizing Han-soo's strong determination, HyeonJoon promised that, if he stayed in the guild and held the position of attack team captain, the first name on the S-level dungeon attack list would belong to him. Hearing that, Han-soo was happy and signed the contract. A few months later, more than half of the members of the Eco Association terminated their contracts and transferred to the Race Association. The number of people who did not sign was less than expected. It was all thanks to HyeonJoon's promotion to A-rank. A-rank hunters and above were the core strength of the country. The fact that he leveled up so quickly in such a short time made them expect a lot from him. In addition to the old members, the race must recruit new members. Regarding the promotional campaign, Tae-min suggested not to use the old achievements because of the merger. He will explain once again, the team's performance is judged mainly based on the number of dungeons the attacking team conquers or the raid defense rate. And the most effective way to improve performance is conquering dungeons. Baek Han-soo is having a hard time these days because he has to interview new members of the attack team, but this will probably take a day. Tae-min was scheduled to attack the B-class dungeon of the new assault team. At this time, Han-soo suddenly burst in and thought that the B-rank dungeon was a bit low. But because the additional manpower of the second team increased, the quality decreased. In order to facilitate the ability test, it is very reasonable to start from level B if Team 2 becomes stronger as expected. He will let Team 1 and Team 2 operate alternately, thus maximizing the strength of the two teams. Only HyeonJoon is enough to participate in this attack. Han-soo will stay in the office to plan for Team 3. The size of the association has increased, so adding a third attack team is also necessary. Taemin announced, Team 2 was already waiting in front of the dungeon gate. You should also get off the car and move there. At this moment, Sojin suddenly ran over and said, "I also want to join the dungeon." She wanted to go there to accumulate more experience to help HyeonJoon in the future, and of course he couldn't refuse his sister's request. The car moves to the gate of the B-class dungeon. Tae Min will guard the outside. HyeonJoon will greet the captain of Team 2. His name is Choi In-ho, his mission is to be a vigilant guard. He announced the addition of one new member. Since it was HyeonJoon's introduction, he didn't doubt it much. Following HyeonJoon's orders, everyone reconvened and began conquering the B-level dungeon. Deep into the cave, what awaited them were powerful monsters. HyeonJoon felt their footsteps. That is the Oak Demon. There are 5 berserkers and 5 regular Oak Demons. They started attacking everyone. The battle broke out. Choi In-ho activated the fire cannon attack, and instantly burned an oak to death. Realizing that the situation was not good, HyeonJoon officially took action. He flew up into the air to avoid the attack and then flew down to defeat one. We must destroy them as quickly as possible. The longer it lasts, the more dangerous it is. He continued to attack perfectly, continuously killing monsters. Finally used Miller's move to kill all the monsters. Faced with his tremendous strength, the other members were all full of confidence walking forward. People wonder how strong HyeonJoon is after all. The team battle that followed was quick and easy. Soon the team reached the final door of the dungeon. HyeonJoon gives the members a break before breaking through the boss. Suddenly the entrance door closed. This unexpected situation he had never seen before. He turned to ask In-ho, and he guessed that this was a hidden dungeon. Its difficulty is a big unknown. The inspector of the management bureau said, "This is a B-rank dungeon, at least it's an A class." Hearing the A-rank dungeon, the team members immediately wavered. Because from level A and up, the difficulty will skyrocket. In the immediate future, HyeonJoon will take time to correct the members' mood. In order to break through the dungeon, they had to confront the boss in the best conditions. The team rested behind the last door. HyeonJoon walked towards Sojin and said, "In 30 minutes the team will enter the boss room. Since this is a hidden dungeon, I try to keep a close eye on Hunter Choi In-ho, because it's much safer with him." HyeonJoon comforts Sojin, who is a healer hunter. The healer must survive to the end in order to save the other members. Sojin also understood his words and nodded in agreement. It was time to attack the final boss. Everyone gathered at In-ho's command. HyeonJoon instructed the team and then directly pushed the door to enter. Hashishin's sinister laugh rang out. It was a warning of the enemy's ambush within. Scary eyes lurking in the dark. HyeonJoon jumped up to dodge an oak's attack. With In-ho's support, he quickly kills the monster. In-ho then summons a wall of fire that destroys their opposites. After the smoke cleared, appearing in front of everyone was the Orc army, along with the Orc war god, and a rank superior monster. He began to use the power of the Carthaginian shield of justice, the mighty sword. Sidon Miller to attack. After a blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the Orc and launched an attack, but it dodged and counterattacked. HyeonJoon begins to enjoy this battle. He directly used Carthago's technique. The sturdy shield will turn into a spear pointed at the enemy. After a huge explosion, the Orc was smashed into the wall. HyeonJoon rushed forward, but at this moment the monster suddenly chanted a spell. A powerful attack flew straight at him. HyeonJoon didn't dodge and ate the shot. His mouth started spitting out blood. The monster slowly approached him, it even spoke Korean, and told him to die, human. It flew into the air and swung the blade at him. Things did not go according to plan 1 at all. With Danzig's help he dodged that powerful attack. He quickly regained his composure and began to think of a plan. If the game continues to drag on, everyone on the team will be injured more. Suddenly the monster revealed an opening. HyeonJoon quickly put all his strength into the attack and slashed its body. It was finally defeated. Everyone's side had finished dealing with the remaining orcs. This was the first time he saw a demonic beast that spoke human language. It was much stronger than ordinary orcs. Everyone has also let their guard down. The arm was finally opened. Just when everyone was happy, a knife rushed forward and stabbed one of the team members. Sojin immediately started treatment. This is a fatal wound. This surprise attack would really kill him if it weren't for Sojin. Hashishin's laughter appeared in HyeonJoon's mind again. The attack from before was so fast that he couldn't do anything, and then another attack hit another member of the team. The foot of a monster appeared. It was the Holy Sword Orc, an S-rank monster of real. Orc Holy Sword started to attack. It slashed one of the team members, leaving HyeonJoon still standing there. Its eyes looked towards Sojin. It immediately ran towards her and swung its sword into the sky. At this time, In-ho stood guard, one hand holding the magic staff and the other pushing Sojin away. In-ho himself blocked one of the monster's slashes, but could not prevent its next attack. The monster sent In-ho flying, and another member also took action. He will stop it to give everyone a chance to escape. Ignoring the bleeding wounds, he picked up Sojin and ran as fast as he could. But the monster was too strong. It sent the black-haired hero and the orange-haired guy flying. While it slowly approached Sojin, HyeonJoon took action. He blocked the final slash that landed on Sojin's head. It seems like everyone has overcome the most dangerous moment. This monster deliberately injured others, to distract HyeonJoon's concentration. This orc is really smart. HyeonJoon immediately ordered Sojin to treat the members, but her body was also exhausted. At this rate, she will faint. He was aware of the need to quickly deal with this terrifying monster first. First, he won't let it get close to Sojin. He moved flexibly and quickly ran behind the monster. It immediately chased after him and grabbed his head. His power was almost completely absorbed by it. If he couldn't destroy it, Sojin would be in danger. He quickly regained his senses and broke free from its control. He then flexibly parried its attack, but the damage was so great that he was still hit. HyeonJoon counterattacked fiercely, but were neutralized by the monster. It suddenly told him about the sword technique he was using and even knew he was a disciple of the Sword Saint. Everything is beyond HyeonJoon's understanding. He tried to fight back, but it seemed useless. Carthago's protective shield was broken. He quickly retreated back to let Sojin save him, but it seemed like her magic was exhausted. HyeonJoon could only counterattack with his body full of injuries. He frantically attacked the monster. The slashes gradually became futile and then he was fatally stabbed by it. Sojin's face was filled with despair. Sojin's pitiful scream rang out. She quickly ran to HyeonJoon and used healing magic. Her hands were shaking. Her energy was also gradually depleted from using excessive strength, so Sojin vomited blood. She tried to hold on with the last bit of her strength, but in return she was met with complete despair. The Orc Lord lifted his head and threw it hard on the ground. It is happy to see human fear. Sojin summoned a short knife. She had no choice but to stand up and fight. This helped her remember her helplessness in the past. Because that day, she couldn't say a word to him. Sojin chose to turn away when he felt the most hopeless and miserable. Then when she turned around, he was already moving forward without stopping. Sojin set herself a goal from that day on. She wants to become stronger so that she can shoulder the responsibility of protecting her family with him. Even if she had to sacrifice herself here, she would protect him to the last breath. Suddenly, a golden light illuminated Sojin's entire body. King Romanov's voice appeared in her head. He granted her the noble position of paladin, along with the purest power. Her body recovered quickly. Sojin returned to the battle. She raised her hand and summoned the power of light. The dazzling energy made In-ho wake up. HyeonJoon was also surprised by the scene before his eyes. Sojin summoned many spears of light and attacked straight towards the boss. Seeing hope of victory, HyeonJoon called upon the power of death. Flesh and blood have awakened the sleeping killing intent of the god of death. Part of the deadly will has been released. By the time the monster was bound with death energy, HyeonJoon rushed to slash at its weak point, but the slash was still a bit shallow. He guessed that Sojin had awakened her power a second time. This power could be the breakthrough point for this battle. But first she needs to treat HyeonJoon. The power returned to his body. He directly used Carthago's move, dealing a fatal blow to the boss's body. Unfortunately, it's still alive. Immediately after that, Sojin continued to use the divine spear to attack the monster. After a final powerful impact, the Orc Lord was defeated. The victory belonged to HyeonJoon's team. Thanks to the powerful energy source, Sojin has activated a new power. It can heal the whole team in a certain range. An extremely effective wide area recovery move. The S-class demon beast has been destroyed. The entire team is still safe after the battle. It's just that a few members' injuries were quite serious and needed to be taken to the hospital for treatment. In-ho was so happy that he burst into tears. The warp gate has been opened. Everyone can finally go home. Sojin was the one who contributed the most in the battle. Just outside, Tae Min quickly rushed over. He heard Choi In-ho tell everything. The management department's mistake almost killed HyeonJoon's entire team. The others went to the hospital to check, and HyeonJoon and Sojin just wanted to go home and lie on their beloved bed. Tae-min has also prepared the car. The rest here will be left to him and Choi In-ho to handle. Tomorrow he will report everything back to you. When HyeonJoon got home, he immediately lay down on the bed and fell asleep. He went to King Romanov's room to ask questions. From the very beginning he knew that the power in that dungeon was a hidden dungeon. What he did was only a very small intervention. So that Sojin can awaken the hidden abilities in her body. Because she was his servant, his powers and blessings acknowledged it. Although HyeonJoon did not ask for this, Sojin met the conditions to become his subordinate, and what the conditions were, Romanov did not say. There is one more thing that HyeonJoon is curious about. Besides her, are there any other subordinates? Romanov replied yes, but he would not reveal his identity to him. Instead, Romanov revealed to him the number. In addition to the Holy Knight, there was only one person left. Over time this number will surely increase because he has the qualities of a king, so it is entirely possible. In addition, HyeonJoon also has a subordinate with absolute loyalty. That's Kim Tae-min. His destiny is to be a blind knight. On the side of the Dungeon Management General Department, the head of the 4th Division of the Dungeon Management Bureau, Lee Jin-hung, read the report on the Hidden Dungeon Handling Association. He was surprised that the Race Guild didn't have an S-rank hunter that could break through the S dungeon. This was so unbelievable that he wanted to go to the office to confirm it again. Going inside, he encountered the head of Department 3 of the Dungeon Management Bureau's Internal Investigation Department. He asked me to hand over all documents for them to investigate. Although he strongly disagreed, Jin-hung was forced to do what he said. Early the next morning, Tae-min came to report the information he had learned. He asked about Sojin's health. She still needs to recover more, just rest for a few more days and she'll be fine. It suddenly became stronger, making her not used to the strength. It takes a little more time for her to calm down and accept that she's gotten a lot stronger, but there's one more important thing Tae-min wants to announce. It's about the results of the Dungeon Management Department's investigation. They confirmed that the S-ranked dungeon was the lowest level, and in it, the results of the investigation were recorded in advance. That means the management knows clearly that this is a hidden dungeon. Surely someone purposely removed the results of the investigation, to put HyeonJoon's team in danger. Although the exact information has not been found, Tae-min is definitely the force behind Eco. HyeonJoon ordered to first use half of the slush fund taken from Choi Na-young to invest in the enforcement team and information team. This mission must be completed as soon as possible. They need to be ready to receive all attacks from their opponents. Before Tae-min left, HyeonJoon asked about the hidden dungeon. Simply put, it was a dungeon with hidden treasures. Tae-min thought he got a huge reward out of it, and he felt it would be better to increase the security at his own home. Because it is possible that the force behind it will expand the scope of the attack, there is a high possibility that rumors about the hidden reward will spread. They can also instigate other forces to attack the race clan for hidden rewards. Tae-min will hire an equipment security company, and arrange the main hunters of the enforcement team to protect around the house. He is one of the few people that Tae-min trusts. It was Ha Jong-seo, the captain of the information team. Romanov's eyes told him he was the perfect action shadow. Later on, he will be in charge of protecting the guild master's private house. When the news of HyeonJoon breaking through the hidden dungeon spreads, they will definitely not be able to avoid battles with others. But HyeonJoon is not afraid of that. If they dare to attack his guild, he will kill them all and let the whole country know what the power of the race guild is. This news reached the ears of the president behind the Eco Guild. Even though it was the lowest level, he couldn't believe that the race guild could break through the S-rank dungeon. All of the team members escaped alive. Just how strong Kong HyeonJoon is still a mystery, and Sojin's second awakening has not been revealed. Just as HyeonJoon predicted, he sent people to spread the news that the race group found treasure inside the dungeon. Outside HyeonJoon's house, there were more security guards. 2 people come back after practice. HyeonJoon's strength has surpassed Tae-min's a lot, and his stealth technique has also improved. Tae-min mentioned his shield. In the last battle it was completely destroyed. Although not a high-level equipment, this shield is a heart containing Tae-min's sincere feelings, only it is wrapped so carefully that it glows. HyeonJoon threw the gift aside and greeted the bodyguards. TAE Min hired a total of 10 people. 9 of them were ED-level hunters, the rest were C-level hunters. Although their rank was low, they were also hunters, so they would be more capable than normal people. And the entire team is equipped with guns. Hunters below D rank are very good at using guns. Even if you are a high-level hunter, if you take a bullet you will still die as usual. Tonight Jong Seo and Tae Min will also join guard here. HyeonJoon also felt more secure about resting, and the Hashashin's gate appeared before his eyes. Although I don't know when I will be attacked, Hashashin's appearance here is also luck. The blessing that Hashashin gave him was not enough to sense the approaching danger. So this time he needed a new power to be able to sense enemies at a distance. In the past time, he had used the blessing that Hashashin had bestowed on him many times, and as a result, the sympathy of the two people increased greatly. HyeonJoon caught the dark arm in the darkness. This was the new blessing that Hashashin would give him. If he had it, he could use the shadow to sense enemies in the distance. He was ready to receive this new source of power. Hashashin began to channel dark energy into his body. It slowly swallowed him into Hashashin's memories. A soldier of the royal capital, confronting an intruder. He uses the power of darkness skillfully. Even if the soldier slashes, he still cannot defeat the intruder. In the end, he was killed. Every time Hashashin saw this scene, he felt very excited. HyeonJoon painfully received new strength. Every time I see memories of my past life, it is an extremely terrible mental torture. But in return, instructions on how to use protection will be engraved in your mind. Hashashin is very happy, because this is the second time he receives the blessing. He will recall the memories of his previous life, from which the instructions on the move will be solved. Even if the move is difficult, it becomes simple for him. This will become clearer when you learn magic. Hashashin said, in 990,000 previous lives, there will definitely be a great magician. Each life is a unique identity in all different fields. If he received their full power, it would only be a matter of time before dominating the hunter world. Hashashin wanted him to try using the blessing he had just received. And the first time he used illusion magic, it succeeded. He tried to summon a second shadow but couldn't. His limit right now was only one shadow. Because this move consumes a lot of mana, it is always impossible to summon two shadows. But creating a shadow for the first time is also an extremely admirable achievement. It's also time for him to return. With the current situation, this shadow will be an effective assistant. HyeonJoon woke up early in the morning to exercise. The high-ranking guilds all had special intelligence teams, so they probably already knew about the rumor surrounding him by now. If that false rumor were to be leaked out, there would definitely be a guild taking action. He just didn't know which guild would act first. Taemin thinks it's Anderson because their reputation isn't good. Even though they were a silver-ranked guild, they always used some infamous and illegal tricks to get to where they are today. That's also the reason why they always have internal struggles in their administrative agencies. With that cunning reputation, they would be the first to act. HyeonJoon will send personal intelligence into Anderson as a spy. Probably the shadow art he learned from the Hashashin. For now, he won't reveal it to Tae Min. But the person HyeonJoon trusts, Tae Min will definitely not object. Back at the office, HyeonJoon created a shadow and showed it a photo of a person. Its mission is to silently monitor his actions. Probably the guild master of the Anderson Guild. And on the other side, the Anderson group has begun to take action. They will take the hidden treasure at any cost. The main mission of this raid is to arrest all members of the race association. If no one is caught, they will be allowed to kill them in the most brutal way. Even if the target is small children, they will kill them all. The executive committee of the Anderson Society, a cold-blooded army that carries out the most cruel missions in the city. They will take action tonight. The bodyguard heard the noise. He looked outside, but the assassin was above him and took him down. The security team outside the mansion has been defeated. They began to break into HyeonJoon's house, and the guards inside could not avoid being assassinated. Everything was defeated in the blink of an eye. Team 2 reported and prepared to attack the house. The captain ordered a member of the team to go up and open the door as long as someone appeared, killing without mercy. The soldier was about to touch the doorknob, but suddenly a sword slashed his arm. The assassination squad began to waver. They split up to find the enemy's location, but their exploration ability told them that there was no one around. That is HyeonJoon's shadow. It sneaks behind the enemy and continuously attacks. Each sword strike kills one enemy. The captain began to panic. If he continued to delay the attack, the whole team would be killed. So he ordered the whole team to enter through the window. But that couldn't happen. HyeonJoon's shadow blocked the entrance, and at this moment the main character of the story appeared. In his hand is the sword of Sidon Miller, and the shield of justice of Carthago, along with the protection of Danzig. His strength is enough to crush enemies into pieces. But he didn't do it alone. HyeonJoon summoned the race's enforcement team. All members of Team 2 appeared here. From the beginning, Anderson's assassination team was surrounded. HyeonJoon wants to make sure that not a single fish can escape from the net. Following Tae-min's command, the whole team started shooting. They couldn't dodge and were continuously hit by bullets. The captain gave instructions to quickly destroy the armed men. But they forgot one thing. No matter how they attack, they cannot defeat the enemy. Because on the race side, there is an extremely powerful healing mage. He shouted Kong HyeonJoon's name loudly, then swung his sword towards his shadow. Without spending too much effort, he easily defeated the captain. Then he ordered Tae-min to send a message to Anderson. Tell them the hostages are in your hands. In the hospital, there is a boy being treated for his illness. Next to him is his older brother. He is a hunter who wakes up for the second time. The boy does not want to eat rice and wants to skip this meal. But his brother did not allow that, because he still had to be treated, so the boy was forced to eat rice to gain strength. He will definitely treat you at any cost. Money is not an issue. The boy understood and then took the spoon to eat. There is one thing that the boy is very jealous of his brother. That is to awaken the power of the hunter and participate in the journey to explore the dungeon. He promised the boy that he would definitely do his best to become a great hunter that he could be proud of. It was a lost memory of law enforcement manager Anderson. His name was Lee Gyu-won. Now he will go submit a report to the guildmaster. He was having fun with the executive director in the association. She is also a person who loves money and abandons human nature. What Lee Won wants to announce is that the race assassination team last night was wiped out, leaving only 4 survivors but were taken hostage. Anderson Guildmaster Ahn Seong-jin was very angry. Not only about the failed assassination job, but also receiving a provocation from HyeonJoon. Won will narrate HyeonJoon's message in the most detail. Hold a press conference and announce who attacked us. If you do that, we will ensure the safety of the hostages, and if you don't, then you must prepare coffins for these hostages. Of course, Seong-jin did not agree to the deal. He directly ordered all executives to gather and prepare for the next attack. Ignoring Lee Won's advice, he calmly threw away the hostage's life in HyeonJoon's hands. Lee Won was really angry with this decision. He even threw wine in his face. His pride was trampled, but Won could not disobey the guildmaster's orders. He was obliged to follow his orders. As for the race group, after the failed assassination attempt last night, HyeonJoon's group received a huge amount of compensation. Tae-min announced that the investigator is here. He could only put aside his joy to welcome guests. But his attitude is not neat. After a few simple exchanges, he left immediately. As for the prisoners of war, they still refuse to reveal information. Perhaps stronger measures need to be taken to intimidate them. Even though they tried all the torture methods, they still did not reveal the information. HyeonJoon was tired and gradually fell asleep. Before his eyes appeared 2 doors of his previous life. One is the King of Pain and the other is the Selfish Executioner. The Selfish Executioner was quite difficult for him to imagine, so he would choose the King of Pain. Go through the door to go deep inside. The spirit's voice echoed throughout the room. He was dancing with a human skeleton. The King of Pain is officially revealed. Before his eyes, there were scary torture tools along with pools of blood splattered all over the floor. No matter how he looks, he still looks like a crazy man. He introduces himself as Pierre and this human skeleton as Ilyas. HyeonJoon will get straight to the point. He needs the strength to be able to torture other people's pain, and he needs the power that Pierre holds. He won't teach you how to torture others, but instead has a special power, far more terrifying than torture. Simply put, he can control other people's pain. If he wanted, he could make a person's life worse than death with just a simple tool. If there was a limit, Pierre would probably have to inject his magic into the opponent's body. The main tool is a needle, which is the most convenient way to inject magic. Ruling over pain, the power that turns the living into soulless corpses. This is a wonderful ability, and of course it requires activation conditions to awaken. The condition is to endure Pierre's 3 needle punctures. As long as you don't give up halfway, this ability will be yours. HyeonJoon has mentally prepared himself to receive new strength. Pierre begins the power-transmitting ritual. True to the name of the Pain Master, just one simple spell made HyeonJoon's body excruciatingly painful. Pierre happily continued to torture HyeonJoon's body. He is truly a perverted crazy man. HyeonJoon was bleeding everywhere but he still didn't stop. The final blow directly caused him to faint. Despite receiving Pierre's blessing, the price to pay was not small. HyeonJoon woke up scared after being tortured by Pierre 3 times. He quickly contacted Tae-min to ask about the whereabouts of the prisoners. HyeonJoon wants to try out the new ability that Pierre has blessed him with. In addition, he also instructs Tae-min to absolutely protect his family's safety. Going to the place where the prisoners were kept, HyeonJoon directly met the captain yesterday. First he would try talking to him, but it didn't seem to work. HyeonJoon had to use Pierre's ability. You'll test it on his accomplices first. Power begins to develop. With Pierre, pain can be controlled. He used it to penetrate the heart, then decisively crush the heart. The pain caused him to fall to the ground and die on the spot. The captain finally knew fear and would tell all the information he had. The rest will be left to Tae-min, and everyone here. After 1 hour of getting information, he synthesized all the data that the prisoner gave. But the fact that there is so little information about the Anderson Society that leads to consolidated data is a bit of a challenge. Anderson's side still denies being behind this assassination. Looks like HyeonJoon wants to personally negotiate with the Anderson Guild. He wanted to put pressure on them so they made things easier. Tae-min tried to stop him, because they had many despicable tricks, absolutely unsafe, but HyeonJoon was confident in his abilities. As long as he himself had Hashishin's blessing, escaping was easy. Besides, if Anderson collapses, the other guilds will not be able to take action easily. HyeonJoon wanted to preemptively attack Anderson. Said to do it the very next night, he immediately went to the Anderson Guild headquarters. He walked up to the guards and told them, informing you guild masters, that the guild master of the Lace Guild is here. HyeonJoon was allowed to go inside under the escort of 2 security guards. He took the elevator to the 5th floor, where the guildmaster Anderson worked. What greeted him were 2 hunters holding weapons. They wanted him to obey the rules of this place, but HyeonJoon did not want to be humiliated like that. He was angry and directly activated the power of the god of death. His godly powers were revealed. The hunters who had been bossy just now were now painfully frightened by this terrifying power. One of them fell to the ground from a heart attack. Before HyeonJoon killed the hunters, their guildmaster also spoke up. You went into Seongjin's office, he was already waiting for you here. HyeonJoon doesn't want to waste any more time. He'll get straight to the point. Just a few days earlier, his family had been attacked. You sent a text message but he didn't bother to reply. He asked him again if he had a hand in this case or not, in return for Seongjin's disdainful laugh. Right now he was very angry, but because this had a big impact, he needed to calm down. This was followed by the threat of Guild Master Anderson. He thinks that HyeonJoon's guild is bronze level, so he needs to change the way he addresses him. But HyeonJoon laughed, perhaps he had predicted this. HyeonJoon also had nothing more to say, he left a threat to Seongjin and then quietly left. Returning to his guild, he happily informed Tae-min. All they need to do now is wait for the dispute to break out with Anderson as planned. And the Lace Guild is also in danger. Many other guilds are interested in the special treasure from the hidden dungeon. Although it's just HyeonJoon's personal speculation, he thinks that the person pulling the strings behind the scenes is trying to make the appraisal more difficult by putting pressure on the authorities. They even put pressure on the special police department. Perhaps the identity of the mastermind is most likely a high-ranking politician or president of a large corporation. In the current situation, asking for help from the police is extremely risky. It might be a bit unusual, but Tae-min thinks the only choice is to launch an unofficial clan battle. That's what Tae-min thought. At this time, Jin-ho informed about the problem that had arisen. Last night, 4 guild members were brutally killed. The special police department identified the culprit as a hunter and began an investigation this morning, but they said there were no clues at the scene. This is probably the response of Association President Anderson. HyeonJoon can't take it anymore, he's going to deal with all of their executives. The remaining job assigned to Tae-min is to mobilize forces to focus on protecting the members of the association. There is one more important thing that HyeonJoon wants to leave to Jin-ho. It is investigating information about Murray University Hospital, where Lee Won's sister is being treated. This could be the key to helping him find Lee Won's weakness. Two key members of Anderson are smoking outside on the riverbank. They just killed the new members of the Lace group. Among them was a D-rank hunter who had just turned 20 years old. They killed people without hesitation, even torturing the corpses, but immediately afterwards the manager was killed with a fatal shot. That was the black aura emitted from HyeonJoon's illusion. He was scared and didn't understand what was happening. From the illusion appeared HyeonJoon went directly to battle. He kicked him into the river, and started talking. The first target Lim Kyung-joon was destroyed. Next is the person who killed the rookie of the Lace group. With this guy he will let him die painfully. He summoned Pierre's strength, and made a decisive move. This pain directly caused him to explode into 100 pieces. The water in the river was dyed red with blood. According to the information Jin-ho gave him, he killed all of Anderson's law enforcement managers. Their internals will surely become panic. According to the head secretary's statistics, Lace lost 4 official members and 6 unofficial members. As for Anderson, up to 20 key members of the association were lost with no clues found at the scene. This is the first time they have seen such a perfect destruction of evidence. In just 2 days, Anderson lost 20 senior members, including 7 managers and 13 executives. Even secret assassinations fail miserably. Seong-jin wanted to hear an explanation from Won. He replied that all means were used to attack, but the opponent's stealth skills were too perfect to sense the opponent's existence, so the entire assassination team was killed. In that assassination team, there was even Captain Park Yong-gyu, and a level hunter, and the team members were all B-level. But they were still destroyed in just a few short seconds. Seong-jin gradually lost his temper. He hit the table and got angry with Lee Won. Secretary Lim suggested using a stronger method to attack. But Won believes that the guild's management force is seriously weakened. If they continue to attack, they will definitely lose to the Lace Guild. Secretary Lim didn't care about that, because she had a plan of her own. That is to continue to increase the obsession with the members of the Lace group, so that they weaken from the inside. If there is a special police intervention, Lee Won just needs to solve it and everything will be over. All of this information was heard by HyeonJoon's shadow. After hearing the information transmitted by the shadow, HyeonJoon had his own plan. If they make even one mistake, your side can completely win. Then he took the phone to call Tae-min. He needed to know that Anderson would increase the scale of attacks on the members of the guild. HyeonJoon said, there is no need to confront all of them. What needed to be done was to show them that the Lace group had tried their best. What he meant was to urge the special police force to intervene in this matter and put all his efforts to protect the members still had to be done. But the loss was more than he thought. 5 official members and 8 unofficial members were killed. The police force made no move to intervene. Tae-min definitely called them, but it seemed like they intentionally ignored everything. HyeonJoon will directly handle this case. He called a friend he hadn't seen for a long time. He is your best friend, and also works in the editorial office of a large company. HyeonJoon wanted to ask him to post this incident on social networks. And the next day it became a hot topic for everyone to search for. The police department was cornered and forced to send a reconnaissance team to investigate. In total, there are 2 companies and 1 squad with a total of 120 members. The small platoon was dispatched to the guild headquarters and the 2 companies were divided into 2 groups, dispatched to the dungeon routes and gates. The police have stepped in so Anderson will stop attacking from now on, but the Lace Guild still has no evidence against Anderson. So HyeonJoon will find the evidence himself. With Hashishin's blessing, this is extremely simple. He will go home and wait for information from the shadow. Everything else at the office he will entrust to Tae-min to handle. On the Anderson side, Lee Won panicked and ran to inform the guildmaster. He wanted him to stop using it, because this was very dangerous. The police department getting involved will lead to extremely serious consequences. Using that thing now would endanger hunters and even civilians. Won tried his best to stop Seong-jin's cruel behavior, but he threatened his sister's life. No matter how hard Won tried to protest, it couldn't change his decision. Finally he was dragged out without being able to do anything. HyeonJoon continues to hunt members of the Anderson Guild. Tonight he killed a total of 20 people, but they were all ordinary members, not high class. At that moment he heard a cry for help nearby. Two hunters were beating up civilians because they saw something they shouldn't have. Despite the boys begging, they continued to beat him, and the appearance of one person surprised HyeonJoon. A monster mutates from the medicine it holds in its hand, transforming its body and personality from a normal human into a monster 100 times stronger than a normal person, which is the effect of the drug called berserker. This is a banned substance that the state has banned for a long time. Perhaps the "it" that Lee Won mentioned as this banned drug. This is a great proof that HyeonJoon has been looking for a long time. He took action, and the first enemy he attacked were the two subordinates in the back. The other enemy was the berserker monster in front. He swung his sword hard and slashed a line behind its back, but it seemed ineffective. The monster even punched him away. Even though there is a shield, the pressure is still there. The monster turned its attack on HyeonJoon. It moved with lightning speed and unleashed a powerful punch. With Carthago's protection, he was still pretty badly hurt. Its subsequent punch forced him into the air to dodge. Once again he used Miller's ability to attack, but it still didn't work. The monster grabbed his leg and slammed it on the ground. The impact caused HyeonJoon to faint on the spot, but his will to fight did not allow him to fall. He also had to protect the witnesses present. Thanks to the courage to stand for justice, another soul came to help. It was Durandal, the hero who always defended justice. With power flowing through his body along with the protagonist's aura, HyeonJoon returned to the battle. After killing the monster, the police went to the scene to handle everything. No witnesses were killed. Their testimony was the fatal weakness that caused the Anderson Society to collapse. Tae Min came to buy coffee when HyeonJoon wanted to return. He reminds you to check the latest news tomorrow. There are some interesting news to be updated. Guildmaster Anderson was in a panic. He put all the blame on Lee Won and gave him the last task, which was to bring HyeonJoon's head back to him. Just like what Tae Min said, the social network exploded with news about the Anderson Association. They were labeled as trash in the busy city. These are all the merits of Tae Min. He connected with the media and spread this information. The police have also contacted again. They said they would prepare to strongly intervene in this issue. Even so, they still wanted to take all the hard work of the two people. Luckily, HyeonJoon was alert enough to stop this when asked to hand over all the evidence. In addition, law enforcement manager Lee Gyu-won of the Anderson Association wanted to meet with him. He has been sitting in the lobby since early morning. HyeonJoon allowed him to go into the office. As an exemplary manager, he bows before the guildmaster of a guild. HyeonJoon uses the eye of God to see his fate, which is honorary assassin. He's so different from Seong-jin, the two don't get along at all. HyeonJoon will ask straight to the point, "What are you here for?" The purpose is to come here to negotiate, but the knife behind says it all. HyeonJoon has known everything for a long time. Since Seong-jin took his sister as a hostage and he appointed him here to assassinate HyeonJoon, Won should have put the knife away. If the police were involved, all illegal conflicts between guilds would have to end. By then, Anderson had completely collapsed. What HyeonJoon wants to say is, all the executive members like Won came to join HyeonJoon's lace group. He wanted to invite them to work under him, but Won was afraid that Guildmaster Anderson would harm his sister. Because for him his sister is all he has. The Anderson Guild has been completely defeated. There will be many hostile guilds attacking the building. Won is forced to make a decision if he wants to save the managers over there. And HyeonJoon will make sure that his sister is definitely protected in the safest way possible. After the negotiations, Won promised to return. Tae Min is still a bit skeptical about HyeonJoon's decision, but his belief has never been wrong. Looking at the way he loves his sister, he will definitely make the correct decision. After returning to the guild, he immediately told the members. He explained to them how the Lace Group wanted to recruit as many hunters from Anderson as possible. At first, they suspected it was a trap because Anderson's side attacked Lacey's group, not with a normal provocation but with a very cruel attack. Accepting recruiting enemies is too risky. But looking at Anderson's condition now, it's like a headless snake. Not to mention Seong-jin lost his reason and killed people indiscriminately. He also uses illegal drugs to turn people into berserker monsters. But fortunately, the released monster did not kill anyone, because HyeonJoon defeated it. Won also told them that Lace held all the evidence proving that Anderson was the person behind the recent attacks. Above all, within 3 days, the police also began investigating. At that time, Anderson would not have the ability to resist. This guild would become a building built with blood. Anderson's current condition is nothing but an empty shell. That means the guilds that have a grudge against Anderson will start attacking. That's what Won is afraid of. Won ordered 2 people to take as many management members as possible. He will stay and stop them. Then he turned into a wave and rushed straight into the explosion. He regrets what he did. If he died here, he would pray for his sister's safety. And if he were still alive, he would happily follow all of HyeonJoon's instructions. Seong-jin was now very desperate. He had no way to run away. The remaining member who ran to report the news was also killed soon after. They were the enemies that Seong-jin had defeated before. Perhaps this is the end of Anderson. He kept begging for his life, but in exchange it was a bloody blade. A total of 36 people were brought by Won. They are the main remaining force of Anderson's law enforcement branch. Now that Seong-jin and Ju Ji-ah have both been killed, Anderson will definitely be disbanded. So there is nothing that threatens the lives of Won and his sister. Lee Won officially joined the Lace Guild in the presence of the guildmaster. Everything was settled, so HyeonJoon also wanted to go home to rest. Because of recruiting Won, he stayed up late for a few days. Tomorrow will be the day to handle the transfer of personnel to Won. After HyeonJoon left, it was Tae Min's performance. He appeared behind Won with an unfriendly face. He's jealous because these days the guildmaster only cares about recruiting Won. He also reminded Won that Lacey's most talented person is still me. Then Tae Min called him to the rooftop to talk. Tae Min said, "The guildmaster is a good person." Even though there were many opposing forces, he was still determined not to give up his stance. He could barely stand by and watch others trying to sacrifice themselves for his family. It's clear that Anderson uses dirty tricks to achieve his goals, but that's not the case with Lace. However, before that Tae Min needs to tell him this. Aside from the kindness and generosity the guildmaster shows you, I don't like this situation at all. Trying to recruit someone who caused trouble for Lace, even sacrificing a lot of manpower. Tae Min did not accept the fact that an enemy suddenly turned into an ally. Who knows if Won will betray Lace in the future? But if that happens, Tae Min will kill Won immediately. For now, he will follow the guildmaster's instructions. Won will have to work hard if he wants to prove his usefulness. This is the warning he gives to Won. And one more small thing that Tae Min wants to say: don't act like you're being bullied because the guildmaster hates this action. Unlike Seong-jin, he makes Won feel bad in a different way. But what he said was partly true. This will be a new beginning with new challenges for you. Inside HyeonJoon's apartment, he was looking back at the sword that saved his life back then. The examiner said that Butcher is a growth-type item. When it reaches an agreement, new powers will be unlocked. Not sure about that, so he took it to check again. Looking at the amount of mana, this small blade is an A rank item. Last time I checked, it was a B rank item. I didn't expect its growth rate to be so fast. According to the checklist, it will most likely evolve again. As expected, the small sword glowed and transformed into a beautiful hunter's knife. At this time, Tae Min called and announced the good news. That's the Lace Guild that has been promoted to silver, but temporarily for only 2 weeks. Because they are still taking the place of the dissolved Anderson Association. If he wanted to own an official promotion certificate, he had to clear 2 A-level dungeons, just in time to test the uses of his new sword. This dungeon raid will take place in 2 weeks. If HyeonJoon and Sojin join the first team, then there is nothing to worry about. The most time-consuming thing is still finding the location of the dungeon. Everything else will be prepared 2 days in advance. After discussing work, he went to the park to meet Sojin. She wanted to chat with him in this cool place. Speaking of raiding an A-rank dungeon, she was still a little nervous. After so many things had happened, they were always the underdogs in the orphanage, beaten, threatened, and trampled on. That's why she always has negative thoughts, but at the same time she also has other thoughts. If she can get through this moment, perhaps happiness is waiting ahead. She always thinks that no matter how worried and scared she is, she can overcome everything. Suddenly she patted his head and smiled happily. At any cost, she will complete the challenges to be on par with HyeonJoon. When he got home, he started thinking about Sojin's sweet actions. Unexpectedly, she is stronger than usual. If this continues, he will fall in love with her. But first he needed to focus on this guild promotion. After thinking about it for a while, he fell asleep. 990,000 previous lives commended his rapid and ceaseless growth. Among the souls here, there is still a very important past life that needs to be intervened if we don't want everyone's efforts to be in vain. At this time, the appearance of a soul changed everything. That's the one who fought against fate, Deus. He arrived earlier than planned, but he needed to arrive that day anyway. Now everything is decided by June. Miller wants to talk to Hashashin. He doesn't like Hashashin's methods, but until HyeonJoon is strong enough, neither Miller nor Durinurl can stop him. With Kong Hyeon's current magical powers, even if he learned dark magic, he still wouldn't be able to use it properly. When that day comes, they will need to be a little more brutal to win the war. So far there have been many legitimate reincarnations. The two people's opinions are conflicting, but everyone is not too worried. Because HyeonJoon was doing so well, he woke up in a dark room and Deus appeared in front of him. He represents the pure will of 990,000 previous lives. He's here to check one last thing before changing your fate. That was something that could give him a glimmer of hope in the impending despair. The enemy of 990,000 souls was coming. Deus won't say exactly, but he can tell you, a disaster will happen and you won't be able to survive without the blessing. If you receive his blessing, then you will be able to win. And if HyeonJoon does not receive his blessing, the day of penance will definitely come. He only wanted one thing, and that was to be stronger now. If he could fulfill that wish, then he would definitely accept the blessing. HyeonJoon has finally become a true comrade of the spirits. From now on, the magic on Earth will change. Its fate will depend entirely on HyeonJoon's decision. This is not a very good battle for the Lace Guild. They were defeated by another guild, along with the defeat of Guild Master HyeonJoon. He gives Tae Min an important mission. No matter what happens, please absolutely protect Sojin's safety. HyeonJoon's consciousness gradually faded and the enemy who beat him to this level was a gold guild. Their leader is the death of the hunters. HyeonJoon was too naive, or rather he was too arrogant. Back a week ago, the Lace Guild officially climbed to the silver tier. This is the greatest honor ever. With this nomination, Paldal Gu in Suwon has been designated as the Lace Guild's special operation site. This means, they will need to prioritize handling the raid at Paldal Gu. Out of all, this is the most competitive place. If a portal appears at this time, the management will contact the other guilds and escort Lace to that place immediately. HyeonJoon didn't know if this was the change that Deus had mentioned. During the guild meeting, Suwon and Branch 2nd Team Captain Park Sejun will briefly explain everything. If according to the estimated area of Paldal Gu, where there was a dense density of monsters, this raid was inevitable. The difficulty of the campaign is estimated to be level A, with a small to medium scale. Simply put, for high-level guilds, this raid is completely different from a dungeon. Monsters would overflow when the gates suddenly appeared, but at this time suddenly the vice president of the Great Demon, Ju Hyeri, started provoking HyeonJoon again. She wanted to know if HyeonJoon wanted to receive favor from the Great Demon Guild or not. The other associations all gave up their priority rights, but HyeonJoon still insisted on agreeing. Although he knew this was a dangerous intention, standing in front of her disdain made him unable to bear it. Instead, HyeonJoon will use exclusive ownership. This is a challenge for Ju Hyeri. HyeonJoon immediately used his magic eye and saw her fate. It was a greedy assistant. She started shouting angrily and walked towards HyeonJoon. But he was not afraid at all, he even glared at her with a scary look. In a certain moment, she was scared and then dirty thoughts arose in her mind. The Lace Guild has gained one more gold tier enemy from here. Among the guilds in charge of the special area in Paldal Gu, the Great Demon Guild was the only gold rank guild. That's why they increasingly exceed their limits and become overbearing. No one knows who is behind, but they continue to hold their position, and the strange thing is that another golden guild has never been born. That's why Sejun thought that now was the time to take down the Great Demon Guild. In addition, in the event that this exclusive campaign fails, your guild will be responsible for all losses. HyeonJoon confidently said, there won't be any mistakes. Returning to the guild, he informed Won of everything. In this raid, he has his own card to play and will definitely be successful. Because your fate has been decided in advance. HyeonJoon meets his old teammate Choi Han-sok. He spoke directly to the issue you discussed on the phone. Now the Lace Guild would like to request support from the professional adventurer group ACE. Because HyeonJoon claimed exclusive rights, the other guilds just had to sit back and watch. With the current strength of the Lace Guild, it was impossible to conquer the A-rank gate, so HyeonJoon wanted to ask for his guild's help. And as an additional reward, you and your guild will receive many things, including the friendship between the two sides, as well as magic stones. The price that HyeonJoon will pay for this deal is 20% of the total amount received. The relationship between Lace and Ace has been established. The next day, the two sides gathered to prepare for the conquest. The mentioned B-rank hunter team will enter when the gate opens, and another thing that Han Sok still tries to do. It was to draw HyeonJoon back to his team. Just having a chance to meet him would make him mention joining the guild. A stubborn person, but his talent cannot be denied. Deus gave him instructions, so he contacted him, but Han Sok's fate is envious, a believer of justice with the power to run a corporation. Regarding the campaign, the first team will consist of Tae Min, Han Seo-jin, and HyeonJoon advance. If there is no signal from your side, you must withdraw your troops. The gate has opened, the terrain will change, the raid squad is ready to do the mission. But nearby someone is watching him, perhaps this is a sign that something bad is about to happen. Inside the gate, thick fog obscured visibility. Just as HyeonJoon was at a standstill, Hashashin's voice rang out, informing him of the danger ahead, and then the enemy had appeared. It was an iron-armored warrior. It would be difficult to deal with without magic. HyeonJoon will fight. He will open a path to the center of the gate. Tae Min's remaining job is to protect Seo-jin's safety. Miller's sword is still as strong as usual. He rushed into the midst of the enemy army and destroyed them with ease. Along with Seo-jin's support and recovery spells, the battle has become much easier. The great coordination of the three people destroyed all the enemies, and advanced straight to the center of the gate, but at this time another danger had occurred. The monsters were suddenly revived and became much stronger. That was Ju Hyeori's magic. She silently snuck in here when the team wasn't paying attention. Ju Hyeori really wanted to kill HyeonJoon. She could never forget the humiliation of the administrative office raid. Her ability is to control puppets and increase their power to a terrifying level. The monsters the team had previously defeated were recovering quickly. According to the information Tae Min received, Ju Hyeori is a support hunter. Her ability to fight alone is not too high, but her buff magic is very strong. At this point, HyeonJoon needed to make a decision to protect the members. He told everyone outside that no matter what happened, they could not go inside. HyeonJoon threw away his headphones and started a new battle. The team defeated many monster attacks, but Ju Hyeori's ability allowed her to revive the puppet. They are continuously revived without stopping. Each time you revive, you will receive a power buff. HyeonJoon constantly needs Seo-jin's help. If you want to prevent monsters from respawning, you need to deal with the caster. HyeonJoon immediately strengthened his body and flew up to attack Ju Hyeori. But her sickle blocked HyeonJoon's attack. Her evasion skills were also very good. At that moment, suddenly a strong beam of light hit him straight from above. The blow caused HyeonJoon a lot of pain. The mana of the armors continues to increase. The whole team was almost exhausted after the attack. HyeonJoon finally collapsed to the ground. Blood flowed all over his body, and the last thing HyeonJoon entrusted to Tae Min was to protect Seo-jin's absolute safety. This is the cause of the story in the above paragraph. Having no other choice, he combined Danzig's will with the Demon Slayer to temporarily hold out for a few minutes. But Tae Min was ambushed by Ju Hyeori, and he was trampled on the ground by the iron armor. The serious injury caused Tae Min to faint on the spot. Ju Hyeori continues to strengthen the armors. HyeonJoon was in a complete stalemate, but fortunately something happened. A powerful fire burned away all the monsters, and that was the classy ability of an S-class hunter. She was Lee Jin-ah, and HyeonJoon's entire team was finally saved. Lee Jin-ah came to the rescue of HyeonJoon's team. She came here when she heard that Lace had used her privilege, but instead of Kong HyeonJoon, only a few older men appeared. So she went inside to see what was going on, and that's when she felt the familiar energy. This time will be a special exception for HyeonJoon. Before attacking, she needs help from Seo-jin, which is to protect everyone from being caught in the fire. Ju Hyeori continues to strengthen her attack armor, but Jin-ah's fire is unbeatable. She burned all the monsters and started using S-rank magic to purge the place. Realizing the danger, Jin quickly activated a protective shield. The S-class hunter's magic was on a completely different level. The entire room was covered in god fire. When he woke up, HyeonJoon was in the hospital, trying to remember what happened. And the last thing before he lost consciousness was seeing Lee Jin-ah, but that didn't matter because everyone was safe. At this time, Ha Jong-so came here to report everything. He said, Hung Jun's body was unconscious for a week. Currently, CEO Tae Min is suffering from a full body injury and is bedridden. The work of the operating room is being handled by Deputy Director Lee Kyu-won. Everything is arranged well so Hung Jun doesn't need to worry about work. Soon after he went to visit Tae Min, he was in a cast all over his body. Even though he said to protect Sojin, he didn't expect Tae Min to die there. Tae Min was very grateful that the guildmaster took care of him. By the way, Hung Jun asked Tae Min about this hospital, because the quality here is very good. Jae-in is the name of this hospital, and the room that Hung Jun treats is the VIP room. This is a hospital belonging to Jail Group, which means Lee Ji-ah owns this place. As soon as the two of them talked about it, she immediately appeared. Hung Jun was very grateful for her help. Without her, his entire team would surely have perished. Though she'd rather you join jail than risk the gates. By the way, full of people here, HyeonJoon wanted to make his request. The Lace Guild has a lot of enemies and he wants to shake hands with Jail. He hoped that Jail Corporation would become a shield for the Lace Guild. This would be very risky for the Jail Corporation. She wanted him to give her a reasonable price so she could continue this negotiation, but the price he offered was a bit arrogant. It was to build an underground relationship with a future SSS-level hunter, which was also a reference to Hung Jun. After saying that, Jin-ah's face was bewildered and did not understand what this madman was saying. Kong HyeonJoon rose from F rank to C rank, and achieved a rank in just half a year. This is indeed a remarkable achievement, but for the secondary awakening it is meaningless. People with a second awakening are rare, but they are not unreasonable like Kong HyeonJoon. If he became an S-rank hunter, it might be because he was very confident about the upcoming test. As far as she knows, HyeonJoon has only recently been promoted to a rank. The promotion conditions are still unknown. It's true that Jin-ah has expectations for him, but she can't help but feel suspicious when he keeps behaving stupidly. At least she wants you to prove yourself worth the investment. She then gave him a card containing the jail office's contact information. There is one more thing that HyeonJoon is curious about. What happened to Ju Hyeri? This question made Jin-ah embarrassed to say it directly. In fact, they closed the gate while she was still alive. If she's lucky, she can live. If not, she will die because she was torn apart in the dimensional gap. This is a secret because closing the gate arbitrarily is a taboo. According to Jong Ho's announcement, Ju Hyeri did not receive any official arrangements for the raid, proving that what she did was completely personal. The Great Demon Guild would just think she had disappeared, if this secret wasn't exposed. HyeonJoon wondered if he had asked the wrong person for help. He probably won't be thrown into the sea to feed the fish because he didn't meet Lee Jin-ah's expectations. As far as Tae Min knows, what she said, proving herself, is actually a battle. His worthy opponent was Lee Jin-ah because the jail group had no official guild, so there were no S-rank hunters working for them. Then there will be two scenarios. One is HyeonJoon proving himself to Lee Jin-ah and receiving protection. Two is that he fails and disappears from the earth, but HyeonJoon is confident that everything will not fail. And she will be willing to accept investment for the Lace Guild soon. On the other side, in the basement of the Great Demon Guild are the management members. They were discussing about Ju Hyeri's sudden disappearance and now her brother had appeared. A strong body with terrifying strength. Ju Hyung-jun is his name. He came here with an extremely rare item. Han Sok visited HyeonJoon's office again by the way, and he gave him a confirmation of his remuneration. The total cost for this collaboration was $570,000. Han Sok was dumbfounded for a moment, then looked at Hung Jun like a god. He radiated the aura of the holy deity. Anyone looking at him thought he was a real bodhisattva. It seems that he believes not only in justice but also in money. The two dragged each other out for a drink soon after. Song Ho was also speechless with their actions. It wasn't until late at night that they brought their butts back home, but it seemed they both drank a bit too much. Even though they said thank you countless times, Sok was still very grateful to HyeonJoon. Previously, Ace was very poor, but with his help, the association gradually returned to its original trajectory. However, now the two have discovered a danger, which is a monster. But based on the mana flowing inside it, it's human. It walked up to a stranger and kept saying, "I must perform the sacrifice for the right of the executor." Then the stranger suddenly killed the monster. Until HyeonJoon and Sok ran over to see it, nothing happened. It didn't look like a dungeon. While that consciousness is hanging around here, you two won't be able to contact SDP. HyeonJoon thinks the best way is to leave here quietly. But Sok found something on the ground. One mana stone, its color is a very unusual black. Then a series of voices from his past life resounded in his head. They are warning of your discovery. Both will return to the office to investigate further. So it began, the sheer desperation Deus mentioned earlier. This must be a big problem for the souls to react so strongly. Not far away, said the stranger, the executor, I found him. One who meets the criteria for divine inheritance. The next morning, Jin-Ah was waiting for him at the door. They were going to check if he was qualified for the S-rank hunter certification. Jin-Ah took him to jail's training room. This is where she trains herself. One of the perks of being the planning director of the jail guild and the S-rank hunter. To be re-accredited to S-rank, it would take quite a while due to the shortage of personnel. 30 minutes, if he can duel Jin-Ah fairly within that time, she will help him get retested immediately. However, if he couldn't keep up, she would consider all previous agreements as meaningless. President Jail told her that this world is a battlefield. Only those who survive to the end have value and those who have no value should die. So she always increases her strength. Now that she has become an S-class monster of jail, she begins to activate her fire demon powers. The whole room heated up and the two sides began to fight. Along with Miller's shield and holy sword, he can also use the ability to control divine swords. But still unable to cause difficulty for Jin-Ah. He used the rocks as stepping stones and approached her. Jin-Ah gently dodged and then suddenly counterattacked with a powerful punch. Luckily, he had Carthago's protection, so her attacks reduced the damage a lot. While he wasn't paying attention, she quickly performed magic. After the big explosion, HyeonJoon still stood firm on the battlefield. Not only does Jin-Ah possess natural talent, but she also clearly understands how to use it. A period of time has passed. To win this match, HyeonJoon needs to play all his cards. The Reaper's killing intent along with the Hashashin blessing were used. His presence has disappeared. Jin-Ah attacked everywhere but never hit. This is a perfect plan that he came up with. Right after that he attacked her from behind, but it was completely ineffective. The strength of the two sides is really different. HyeonJoon hid himself again, then rushed out to attack very suddenly. He successfully pinned her to the floor. But this could not stop her magic. An air dust explosion was activated. The entire room exploded with the heat of the fire. Time is up. HyeonJoon has lost the hand-to-hand fight, but it seems he has drawn sympathy from her. Will he be able to win the heart of this cold lady? HyeonJoon has proven himself, his ability to persevere despite adversity to surpass himself in the past. In the forest, Hashashin is running away from the enemy. He was seriously injured and the enemy was too strong. He considers himself an aggressor and has killed many people like Hashashin. Just when he was about to destroy everything, HyeonJoon woke up and it turned out that this was just a dream. But that dream was too real, like a memory of Hashashin. The invader, the qualified person, was what appeared in that strange dream. He was temporarily discharged from the hospital. On the way home, Jong-soo mentioned the S-rank appraisal. In addition to magic power, he needed to have a dungeon performance record. Luckily his magic power met the standards, but his performance record was still lacking, so Jin-Ah went with him to bypass those conditions. The judges' evaluations were really harsh, especially the S rank. If HyeonJoon showed hesitation or confusion at that place, her reputation would be slightly damaged. That's what she thought, but HyeonJoon is a guildmaster, so nothing will happen. Two subordinates will stand outside while HyeonJoon and Jin-Ah will go inside. The judge who evaluated him this time was a blonde guy. He still looks quite young, but he seems tough for his age. The test will start with magic power. HyeonJoon needs to put his hand on the device and push the mana out. Gilles de Rais, the madman who reached the realm of truth, was interested in this case. He wants you to destroy the evaluation orb. Even though he didn't know how to destroy it, he would try to push the strongest mana source out. The surprise was that the evaluation ball actually broke. HyeonJoon naively thinks that the ball has been used for too long. But it's designed to resist SSS-level magic, and even if it's old, it won't break easily. Furthermore, an appraisal orb is very expensive, that's why he cried so much. But he was happy again as soon as Jin-ah said he would make up for it. One gentle wave of the hand, 150 million right away. Everything was resolved, so Jin-ah and HyeonJoon asked permission to leave. Before leaving, she also warned him to take good care of the device, otherwise the information about the broken sphere would be revealed. The S-level appraisal is as simple as that. At this time, HyeonJoon's phone in his pocket kept ringing. Clearly he remembered that he had turned off the vibrate mode. When I took it out, I discovered that it was not a phone but a strange stone. Jin-ah's expression immediately changed when she saw it. She panicked and asked him where she got this stone. At the special police station, Song Tae-shik, head of the special police team of the S-Class Secret Investigation Organization, confirmed that this is a black magic stone. There was an order from the higher-up, to report the discovery of these magic stones immediately. By the way, HyeonJoon looked at the fates of the two of them. Jin-ah is the guardian of the knot effect, and Tae-shik is the righteous agent. Normally this black magic stone is not made public, because it is classified information. Since HyeonJoon picked up this stone, he has been in the same boat with the police department and the jail group. They will need to increase the security force. Tae-shik asked him if he had suffered any damage since holding the magic stone because disaster will happen to the person who holds it. They can die or become disabled, no one has ever escaped that tragic fate. Han Sok came here at HyeonJoon's call, because when he picked up the magic stone, he was also there. Both of them got drunk and went into an alley by mistake. And saw a strange human-like animal shape turning into ash and disappearing. The black magic stone was also left there. The only thing that hasn't happened yet is the attack on HyeonJoon. Suddenly the building's warning bell rang. Perhaps this was the danger that Jin-ah mentioned. The whole group quickly went into fighting mode. Jin-ah immediately deployed absolute protection. Behind the smoke there is the silhouette of a person. He looks like a human but is actually a monster. HyeonJoon controlled the divine knife to attack, but it had no effect. The monster rushed forward and jumped onto Jin-ah's protective layer. It directly tore the shield and sprayed a liquid at HyeonJoon's body. The shield is about to be destroyed. HyeonJoon needs to do something before everyone is killed. Jin-ah buys him time to use his energy so he can use the killing intent of the ruthless human killer Reaper, whose terrifying eyes contain strong killing intent. The monster was locked by Reaper's killing intent. This was the opportunity for HyeonJoon and Sok to attack. The two people worked together to defeat the monster in an instant. Then he said, "You have grown up a lot, you meet the standards. But don't be conceited because the Supreme Dementor himself is the only existence." And then the monster's pitiful scream rang out. A huge explosion occurred right in the middle of the building, and accompanied by toxic gas from the black magic stone. Everyone fainted immediately. Deus's absolute will was interfering with his fate. When he woke up, HyeonJoon was already in the reincarnation hall. Perhaps Lee Jin-ah was still hiding some secret about the black magic stone and that bastard had definitely called him a qualified person. HyeonJoon was thinking when a door suddenly appeared. This will be another of your past lives. HyeonJoon didn't want to bring up the past, so he just pushed the door open and walked in. Inside contains many books and magic circles. The owner of this place also appeared. His name was Giles de Rais, who asked him to destroy the evaluation orb. Rais has been following him all this time, so he also knows his current situation. HyeonJoon was poisoned by the black magic power released by the black magic stone. All of his previous lives had reacted violently since he found the magic crystal. Besides, he didn't understand why that person turned into a monster. Rais replied that this is a mission that both you and we must complete even if it costs our lives. Right now he can't tell everything in detail. No past life has ever explained to him about them or that day. They didn't even reveal a single bit of information about black magic, which was something he had always been curious about. It's not that they don't want to tell, it's that they can't tell. There was a restriction imposed on their bodies that forced them to keep it a secret. And since Deus asked, Rais will lend him his power. Once HyeonJoon falls deep into black magic, he will definitely die. Not only him, but the people around him also suffered the same fate. But you are a qualified person, if you can pass Raice's test, he will give you the order to dispel the magic. HyeonJoon will first have to learn the basic knowledge in books and then take a test, just like in the real world. You must memorize all the content in these books and score A+ or better on the test that Raice assigns. Then, the method to counteract the black magic stone poisoning, and the method to dispel the mana magic circle. Raice will teach you everything. HyeonJoon was tortured until he was dry, constantly failing tests. By the time he turned into a firewood, the test had achieved the necessary target, but it was A. He was scared and thought he would have to continue studying. Raice asked, "Do you know that things other than test scores are counted on your report card? The ratio is 70% test score, 20% diligence and 10% attitude." He got top marks for attendance, and his attitude was 100% perfect. So on this test he got the maximum score. All knowledge related to the magic circle will be passed on once he wakes up. Then Raice gradually disappeared, and he regained consciousness in the waking world. He managed to wake up, but it seemed he was still being corroded. He would die if he didn't use the magic circle to remove the poison gas. The magic Giles de Raice has begun to destroy the magic circle. In the name of the dark truth, it orders the elimination of magic. Black magic has been deeply rooted in your heart, circulating your mana to further dispel. A black magic appeared directly in HyeonJoon's heart. He slowly reached out his hand to touch it, but the effect was too strong. Blood spurted out from HyeonJoon's mouth. The toxic gas has been eliminated, but there are still 3 people left. He had to do it, or else everyone would die. In Jin-ah's mind, she was trapped in a space without light. This is no different from when Jin-ah was a child. The obsession from her cold-blooded father gradually appeared in her mind. Her older sister has become a member of the corporation, so when is she going to prove her worth? What is Jail Group's motto? Useless things should die. Those are harsh words coming from a father. This pain has followed her into adulthood and now she is very miserable and scared. She begged someone to save her from here. That wish actually came true. The darkness is gradually breaking down. HyeonJoon is trying to force out the poison in her body. Luckily, Jin-ah woke up. Her tears kept falling. This was the first time someone reached out to save her from that terrifying darkness. Everyone returned to the office to calm down. Sok-yeon ran here as soon as he heard the news that his wife was in trouble. He also carried a bag of fish cakes in his hand, so that he could feed her to eat. Tae-shik asked HyeonJoon, "Do you want to make a deal with SPD or more precisely, with the Republic of Korea?" Because he was now in contact with black magic, he became a target of it. The SPD's goal is to pursue the magical stone and punish those who are using it. And of course, because it is a top-secret mission, SPD will provide you with S-class weapons and tax exemption for the Lace Group. Hearing about S-class weapons, Han Sok brightened up, his eyes lit up, and he kept begging HyeonJoon to agree. The other 2 were speechless with his actions, and HyeonJoon finally agreed to join this mission. His S-rank weapon is a sword. It radiates an extremely powerful energy, but in order to use the sword's power, he must contract with it. The sword's name is Hellish Zanmadao. Its owner never appeared. Because it is a magic sword, many people cannot control its power. But at this moment, deises will suddenly destroyed the sword's resistance and bound the contract, and then the sword awakened. It even talked to HyeonJoon. He was shocked when he found out. For the first time in his life, he witnessed a talking sword, but he ignored its questions and directly put it in the pocket of space. It was also late, so Jin-ah wanted to go home to rest. Everyone ended the meeting here. Once again, Jin-ah wants to thank you for saving me from the bondage of black magic. Without him, I don't know what would have happened. So she appreciates your action. Then she gets in the car and goes home. Tae-min panicked and ran here after hearing the call from the police station. The SPD will contact him if they have information about the black magic stone, and Han Sok will stay over at the Lace Guild, for safety reasons. Not far away, Ju-jun stood aloft and watched over everything. HyeonJoon's danger might be about to happen. After the efforts of everyone in the guild, HyeonJoon held a meeting to promote the members. The Lace Guild was now much stronger than before. It could be said to occupy an important position in the hunter world. Everything ended smoothly. Sojin and HyeonJoon sat and rested at the back of the hall. It seemed like Sojin worked very hard. She was the one who didn't get hurt in the last raid. Because of that, She thought herself to be slower than the others, so she focused on her work, but HyeonJoon was really worried about her. Now, he would bear all the burdens she had to bear. While talking normally, she suddenly fell to the ground. HyeonJoon quickly told Tae-min to call an ambulance. When she went to the hospital, the doctor said that this was chronic fatigue due to the effects of the dungeon, which meant that she forced herself to work too hard. After that raid, everyone was hospitalized, so she did everything there was to do in the guild, including the guild master's work. Hearing that, HyeonJoon didn't hesitate to give the group a week off to have free time to go out to the beach. Unexpectedly, Jin-ah was also here. The two people who just met were starting to be like cats and dogs. No one would give up, so the two punched each other right at the campsite. Perhaps not much, but this is also a part of Lacey's beautiful memories. Right now in the Great Demon Guild, that bastard Joo-jun started to act. He summoned all the best A-rank hunters to perform the ritual sacrifice. He wanted the power to avenge his sister, take revenge on those who made her disappear. Although strongly disagreeing with this action of the guild master, the executive director still had to follow orders. He called 5 hunters into the room. Joo-jun immediately called the executioner from the black magic stone. He was the one who would perform the sacrifice ceremony. Joo-jun ordered them to enter the magic circle, and then a bloody massacre occurred in the room. This ritual sacrifice is essentially a large-scale murder. The main target is hunters with a rank or higher ability. The more people sacrifice, the stronger the owner of the black magic stone becomes. At the end of the outing, HyeonJoon continued with the investigation. Tae-shik found some important evidence. The first is the pictures on the table. It's the Great Demon Guild. Associations of gold level and above all have regular meetings because they are given great authority, so they have the responsibility to complete important things. But the Great Demon Guild didn't attend meetings for a long time. Tae-shik heard that the Great Demon Guild had fallen into chaos since Joo Hae-ri's disappearance. So one of the detectives from the police department went there to investigate, and the result was that the whole club was empty. They suddenly disappeared, but there were a few suspicious things. That was the photo that Jin-ah was looking at. She almost vomited. In the photo, there are bloodstains left over from the sacrificial ritual. Not long after taking this photo, the inspector was attacked. Luckily, the camera was thrown to a safe place, so Tae-shik was able to find and restore the data, but in the photo there was a very familiar object. It looked like someone's used black magic stone. In addition, Jin-ah discovered a very familiar symbol in the photo. During that attack, Joo Hae-ri's eyes showed this symbol. HyeonJoon had his own plans. He surmised that perhaps the black magic vein had appeared in the Great Demon Guild. He'll throw out a bait to see if Joo Hae-gyun takes the bait, and he's caught the bait. After seeing HyeonJoon's message behind the photo, he actually turned himself into a bloodthirsty demon, and then that madness destroyed the Great Demon Building. This is the plan that HyeonJoon came up with before. A life and death battle will definitely take place between the two guilds. Won evacuated the guild members, leaving only hunters capable of fighting on the first floor. But at this time, Won received an urgent notification. The target had left the location and flew directly to the yard. Upper. Won reacted quickly and started casting magic. Huge chunks of ice stabbed directly into his stomach, but unfortunately the attack did not injure him. This made him much more mad, and he decided to kill everyone here, and this was also when Jin-ah went into battle. A powerful fire burns before the cruel people. Taking this opportunity, HyeonJoon also wanted to test the power of this S-rank sword. You will be the next to participate in the battle. After Jin-ah's attack, the monster was unharmed. HyeonJoon will confront Joo-jun alone. He wants both of them to go out and help others. As soon as the two people left, the monster began to increase in strength. HyeonJoon was also not average. He flew directly into the air and slashed hard at him. Joo-jun questioned HyeonJoon, why did he kill his sister? She participated in the last raid, but she didn't come back even though Joo-jun waited for a long time. So sad that he assumed that he had killed Joo Hae-ri, and began to take revenge. While he wasn't paying attention, HyeonJoon used Death's killing intent to lock him down and slashed forward. This time he was injured, blood was all over the sword. But because of that, his anger reached its peak. He screamed HyeonJoon's name, then he kicked him and flew straight down the floor. HyeonJoon put all his strength into the final slash and defeated this cruel bastard Joo-jun. Before he died, he said, How could I lose after making a blood contract? Then he disappeared into thin air, leaving a lot of questions for HyeonJoon. One black magic stone falls out. Everyone gathered and started discussing. Ju-jun refers to hunters, specifically low-ranking hunters. That might be related to the disappearance of the lower-rank hunters. It is said that the authorities are having a hard time investigating because there is not a single trace left. Maybe this is related to the blood contract that Ju-jun mentioned because the situation was stable, so everyone dispersed. SPD will start by chasing the person who enforced the blood contract. On the way back to HyeonJoon's house, he received a warning from the Hashashin. There was someone secretly following him. Was this an attack by members of the Blood Contract Association? The one watching HyeonJoon is the S-rank hunter, Sun Tae. She is a famous influencer with 1 million followers on Tube. She has a passion big enough to carry a large camera with her into the dungeon to catch the view. The tuber star always gets everyone's attention. But she was following Kong HyeonJoon with a camera in her hand. HyeonJoon needs to see what's inside the camera. Even if she uses her cute face, she can't stop his actions. When he opened the camera, HyeonJoon was very surprised because inside were all photos of So-jin. Tae explained that your clan is an emerging rookie today, so I just wanted to interview you. Speaking of this, HyeonJoon immediately came up with an idea. If he makes good use of this opportunity, maybe he can change something for this inherently unclean country. He used his magic eye to look at her fate, which was an attention seeker. True to her abilities, this collaboration will probably shock the whole city. In another place, where people like Ju-jun are harbored, they are having a meeting with senior management. He threatened his subordinates that the arrest warrant for qualified people had been issued a long time ago. Yet HyeonJoon is still living alone out there. If you can't kill him, then the person who will die will definitely be you. Then he killed a subordinate just because he said sorry. After a series of failures, he was tired of hearing the word sorry. Just hearing these 2 words, he would immediately kill that person, and 3 of his subordinates were beheaded immediately afterwards. But his superior came here, the person known as the Supreme Dementor. He said that the invader is coming and we cannot eliminate the core of the problem. So who caused this mistake? Furthermore, Lord Heron has begun to go to war himself. This is only for them, and for the sake of our blood contract, don't be sad, because we cannot disappoint them. Having finished speaking, he shot his head and used a magic circle, sucking in everyone here to summon them to the gate. The gate leads to the Hell of Death. A powerful monster steps out of the gate. He was Heron, the Dementor had talked about. As soon as he was summoned, he immediately issued an order, summoned all available troops and launched an attack on the one who met the standards, which was HyeonJoon. From the moment he appeared, the Lace Group would definitely face the biggest disaster ever. After working all day, HyeonJoon can finally rest. Remembering when he was on air with Tae, he couldn't sleep. Tae is very lively, constantly greeting viewers, but HyeonJoon is like a statue. Finally, after 7,749 filming sessions, they completed the product. This is an experience you will never do again. He did all this to find out who was behind the black magic stone, but the truth remained empty. Drowsiness overtook him and he couldn't resist. Finally, he fell asleep and met Hashashin again. He said that, they have revealed themselves, the self-proclaimed invaders have begun to move. Thanks to you, his restraining order was lifted and he can tell you everything in detail. About the purpose of his past lives, and the horrors HyeonJoon will have to face. All the tasks of your previous life, you will have to shoulder. Hashashin had used the term with him before. They here are the invaders. They were enemies that his previous lives could not defeat for centuries, it was sheer despair. The invaders are an organization of invaders from another world. Past lives fought independently to stop them and everyone failed. Some past lives fought alongside their comrades, and met their end. There are also a few past lives where teammates were betrayed by enemy brainwashing and died. There are other past lives, who died trying to bring peace to the world. All 990,000 past lives failed in the campaign to stop the invaders. The people that HyeonJoon killed before were absolutely not invaders. At the top is Heron, then the Dementors, then the Executioners, and finally the black magic stone puppets that take orders from them. This means, monsters like Ju-guin are just ordinary creatures. But Hashashin was very comfortable, because out of all the qualified people he had ever met, you are the person with the most limitless potential. All previous lives believed in his abilities. They believe that he is the only person who can fulfill their greatest wish. This is a big challenge, a big mission that you have to put your life into. It will be very difficult to make the right decision. Past lives have sacrificed themselves to bring peace to the world. So HyeonJoon has made his own decision. You will accept this noble mission. From now on, the past lives will grant him unlimited power because the ban has been lifted. But there's only one person here who can do that, because his ban has been lifted, and that's HyeonJoon. He would inherit the full power of darkness that HyeonJoon possessed. Returning to the real world, he felt an unprecedented amount of energy, but the greater the power, the greater the task. How will he face Haran, the enemy who killed 990,000 in his previous life? The first thing when HyeonJoon woke up was to go see Lee Won. He was playing with his sister in the hospital. Seeing her getting better day by day, he also felt happier when the TV suddenly announced an emergency. An unknown crack appeared in the sky in Gangnam-su, Seoul. Never before seen monsters came out of the crack, and they were very aggressive. Hundreds of injuries have been confirmed. It looks very similar to Ju-Guin when transformed into a monster. This is a sign that the invaders' attack has officially fallen on Earth. This matter was very urgent, so he immediately called Lee Jin-ah. The whole city was currently in chaos. She wants you to go to jail headquarters to promptly come up with a plan to stop the monsters. The police force is working at its best, but the state of the defense line is continuously falling apart. If this continues, the entire police force will be destroyed. They contacted the rank 1 hunter, Han Jin-woo, but there was no response. The second line of defense has also collapsed. They will soon attack the main camp. Just when Tae Shik was completely helpless against the onslaught of monsters, Jin-ah appeared carrying his powerful flame. The monsters evaporated instantly. At this time, a member of the police department ran over and announced a top-secret news. That was the leader of the monsters somewhere deep inside the crack. If you want to end this war, you must destroy the leader, who is also Haran. HyeonJoon will have to fight, even if he sacrifices himself. This raid will include Jin-ah to help you. 2S rank people faced hundreds of monsters. HyeonJoon's subordinates also participated in the battle. Then he would attack the monsters directly, opening a straight path to the center of the rift. From the moment he held this S-rank sword, his strength increased tenfold. The speed as well as the slash both reach the peak level. He vigorously slashed all the monsters blocking his way. Compared to when he fought Jin-ah, his sword was much stronger. There was space for Jin-ah. She started using the explosion from the air to springboard into the air. Entering the crack will be faster using this method. But suddenly she stopped, because she felt a magical reaction. Up ahead, a figure appeared hiding behind the smoke. Appearing behind the white smoke, was a transformed monster. He used to be the president of a silver-level guild. This could be a side effect of mana absorption leading to the body being too much to bear. Jin-ah sensed S-rank magic from it. The angry monster called the swarm up here. Things will be very troublesome. A whole bunch of monsters will appear at the same time and then Jin-ah will speak up again. She will be responsible for fighting here. And HyeonJoon will rush into the center of the rift, which is very dangerous. Jin-ah knows it too, but to end this war requires sacrifice. She will stop these hateful monsters. This is the time for her to prove her worth. And HyeonJoon is also the one who gave her strength to overcome her father's obsession. He taught her the ability to endure no matter what adversity she faces, not missing anything that lies behind. So she will give this opportunity to you, because your strength and will be the key to ending this war. She then created a wave of fire, sending HyeonJoon straight into the crack, and then a huge explosion appeared right in the middle of the city. One destructive move of Jin-ah. HyeonJoon successfully passed through the rift gate. He prayed for everyone to be safe, until he returned. His past life wasn't the only thing he carried. Killing the invaders was what he had to do to protect everyone. The sword reminded him to focus on the battle. It did not sense any presence in this room. In front is a large gate. Perhaps this is the destination that he needs to find. He touched the door surface. There was a powerful magic seal attached here. With Rais's power, the magic circle was forcibly destroyed and he was finally able to open the door to go inside. Haran and HyeonJoon encountered each other. On one side is the enemy of 990,000 past lives, and HyeonJoon is the next qualified person. Which one of them will win in a life and death battle? This can only be explained after both have fought, and the one who attacked first was Heron. Under the protection of the Carthago shield and the help of the great gods, nothing can stop HyeonJoon's progress. Heron took a step back and began to power up his next attack. Ever since HyeonJoon decided to face his fate, he was ready to make sacrifices at any time. This is where the Hashashin's dark power comes into play. In just a blink of an eye, he could disappear and appear high above, delivering a powerful attack. But Heron blocked the attack, and began to counterattack fiercely. The two sides fought fiercely in the air. Heron's sword was still slightly better than his, and his movements continued to speed up, keeping up with HyeonJoon's progress. Taking the opportunity to not pay attention, he controlled the divine knife and slashed straight at his leg. His body rushed up like a wind, intending to end this match. But something unexpected happened. He disappeared and then appeared with many different bodies. They were not illusions. The sword sensed the host's mana source, which meant they were his other copies. And during the deadlock, another soul removed the seal and intervened directly into HyeonJoon's body. That is the death instinct of the messenger of hell, the Reaper. It directly crushed many Heron clones, with a look of death. Eventually all the clones were killed, leaving only the original. HyeonJoon launched an attack, but was sent flying by his gravity attack. He then controlled the puppets in here, picked up the knife and killed himself. Their souls and flesh are a great source of energy for him. The strength flowing through his body helped him gently throw him to the ground. Even though he had avoided the fatal blow just now, his body still had several broken ribs. HyeonJoon was completely exhausted. He could not resist his next attacks. Finally he collapsed to the ground with his body covered in injuries. Suddenly he had the thought of running away, but determination revived his spirit again. The magical reaction occurred. Durandal went into battle with an aura of justice. HyeonJoon will temporarily have strong protection from Durandal. As expected, Durandal's power of justice is very strong. HyeonJoon just needs to lift the sword slightly to be able to shoot out a terrible source of energy. Although he could have cut away that energy source, it gave him the opportunity to use the divine blade, and cut off one of his arms. Heron endured the pain to deliver one last fatal blow, aiming to finish HyeonJoon. But it was him who was injured. His sword plunged deep into Heron's stomach, cutting off a large chunk of flesh. He widened his eyes in surprise, because his own attack was easily neutralized by HyeonJoon with his hands. This is also an opportunity for HyeonJoon to strike a fatal blow to end this war. He ate HyeonJoon's giant shot. After that blow, his body was exhausted. Keeping his mind awake was all he could do now. But Heron is still alive. He can still stand up, after HyeonJoon's powerful attack. He cannot accept that he will be defeated by the Chosen One. The Supreme Being's order was to capture him alive, but he changed his mind. He will kill you and tear your body apart for the dogs to eat. In his hand, HyeonJoon holds a black magic stone. In order to return to Earth alive, he was forced to take a risk and break the black magic stone. That's the key to closing the space portal. The crack has collapsed. It will disappear within 5 minutes. He must act if he wants to return to Earth. Thanks to the stone falling out of the crack, he had the opportunity to jump into the crack. Jin-Ah is still alive and has a lot of strength left to save HyeonJoon. Heron's last words before the gate closes: "I'll make sure you pay for this, damn qualified man." The gate finally closed and the monsters that poured out from the crack also disappeared. Because of using too much strength, HyeonJoon fainted shortly after. Everything was temporarily controlled within a safe range. HyeonJoon continues the challenge of another soul. This time the door is eternal chaos. The old man inside is Behemoth, the spirit that devours chaos. He said, "If you can satisfy chaos, chaos will bless you. You can achieve everything you need, be it magic, control, or anything else." Through the blessing of chaos, he needed to sacrifice the soul of the invader. To gain the power the priest mentioned, HyeonJoon needs to sacrifice the soul of the invader. Offering to the soul of the person who blocked the wishes of 990,000 past lives. He must kill the enemy, separate his soul from his body, and seal it into chaos. But if the soul is not in good condition, HyeonJoon will have to sacrifice more and more until the chaos is satisfied. Because if it is in poor condition, it will become worthless. Although he understood what the priest meant, he still had some questions. The chaos thing doesn't sound good. Behemoth told him not to worry. one past life system created to prepare against invaders and has gone through 990,000 accumulations. Chaos, from the beginning, has been considered a curse because of its negative side. But now he could rest easy because the current chaos had been defeated by the will of 99,000 past lives. The two will meet again when HyeonJoon is ready to receive the blessing, and then he wakes up with the priest's words echoing in his head. What he remembered before fainting was the fight with Haran, and the moment it ended. At this time, Jin comes to visit his health. A supervisor has been visiting since he successfully closed the crack gate. According to that person, Lace is being nominated for promotion to platinum status. Tae burst in from nowhere and shouted loudly. He had just been promoted to silver and now went straight to platinum, without even needing to go through gold. That's why I came here to record this event. It's been a while since the two of you cooperated. She worked hard to get here. Because Lee Jin-ah was guarding this room, but she let Tae into the room, after reviewing the scene that Tae had meticulously made. The news of closing the gate is floating around, and right now Tae just wants a small interview with HyeonJoon. The video where the two fight together has reached 130 million views, which is an extremely impressive number. So Tae wants both of them to continue their agreement. In addition, news about him is also being broadcast live on the television station. This is the proudest achievement ever, and of course HyeonJoon is very happy about it. The dream that both of them never dared to imagine before has now become a reality. Lee Jin-ah was about to enter the room, but she left after hearing him and Jin laughing happily. After fully recovering, everyone gathered together at the police station to begin discussion. First of all, about the origin of the black magic stone, and the identity of the invaders. The trophy that the police department got from closing the gate was a magic stone. So far the police department has detected the gate suddenly opening because this phenomenon is happening globally. Tae Shik suspects that these gates opened on purpose. The proof is the energy source contained in the black magic stone. The police department analyzed the ingredients of the stone, and if the magic crystal was normal, it would have a clean energy source. But with the black magic stone, it is extremely unstable. It contains a large amount of magical power that can distort space, and it seems to create random cracks through that energy. This theory is very true because HyeonJoon met Haran in the rift, who claimed to be the invader. He also added information that he himself knew. There is an army that provides information to the invaders. And he himself had seen it. Haran used the lives of his guild members just to heal. HyeonJoon himself cannot face the invaders on his own. The invader he saw in Hashishun's memories was someone other than Haran. This means that Haran is not the only aggressor. To be able to fight them, he needed everyone's help. Tae suddenly remembered something while filming HyeonJoon live. After he broke the black magic stone, the crack started to collapse. The special thing is that Haran destroyed one more black magic stone, and the crack disappeared immediately. One thing Tae can be sure of, the invader has survived, and this is definitely not the end. On Haran's side, he was punished by his superiors after losing to HyeonJoon. He asked Haran, why not ask for reinforcements? Because he realized that the space rift was not stable, the qualified person had broken the black magic stone, making it difficult for it to maintain the rift. If reinforcements were requested at that time, the army would be swept away by the space-time storm. But the leader did not want to hear excuses. Because the Supreme Being gave him full command of the army. This means his life is at stake, and if they can't kill someone who meets the standards, all will be killed. This will be their last chance to attack. If Haran continued to fail, then death was certain for him. Going outside, Haran meets another leader. She is Alina, who is on the same level as the leader. What she wanted to tell Haran was to use the people on Earth to open a new rift. To be able to win on the battlefield requires sacrifice. Whether Haran's arm, or an army of monsters is destroyed, it is also a necessary sacrifice. Haran realized that he would have to attack with all his might if he wanted to regain his life. This will be the bloodiest war ever. On the other side, Agent Tae Shik and Agent Smith arranged to talk at the park. Agent Smith's report was news of the blood contract negotiations, which were going very smoothly. The World Genius Association is considering nominating a representative, and Smith has been nominated as a candidate. Tae Shik wants to nominate HyeonJoon as a candidate and has one more point that Tae Shik is curious about. Others were also nominated, so why wasn't SS rank hunter Han Jin-woo mentioned? Smith replied that he was related to the blood contract. During the meeting between guilds, only Lace and Ace attended the meeting. The Great Demon and Blade were no longer present. The dungeon manager must continue to report monster raids. There are 4 locations in total, more than expected. That's why the Raid Status Management Department sent a request for emergency support. They don't want Seoul to turn into a sea of blood. They will move to the expected location of the raid. Lace and Ace are both assigned to a raid because the raid here estimates SS rank. There are a lot of monsters coming out of this place, it can be said to be a mess. According to Wan's plan, the A rank hunter would first set up a barrier, so that there would be no serious loss outside the center of the gate. The list of enemies included Orc Swordsman and Pastor, but since this was an SS rank mission, it was impossible to accurately estimate the level of danger. Orc Swordmaster, it made him recall the scary memory. It seemed like they were the vanguard. HyeonJoon has killed so many orcs that even the Orc Swordsman is no match for him. As soon as he was ambushed by 2 swordmasters, Jin took action. She used light magic to destroy their bodies. The Holy Spear is a very powerful attack compared to what Sojin is showing. Suddenly Wan received a notification that an S-rank orc priest had arrived. He chanted magic that bound everyone with chains, and then used resurrection magic on the orc swordsman. Not only did they come back to life, but their strength was also greatly increased. Jin tries to signal to everyone, buying time so that she has time to remove the chain. But there's no need for her to use her powers, because HyeonJoon's strength is absolute. He possesses the great blessing of Rais, able to erase all spells from his body while also being effective on allies. Fresh out of bondage, everyone was attacked. The orc priest must be defeated if he wants to enter the heart of the gate. This is where HyeonJoon shines. He coldly killed all the orcs with a single slash. His power was still increasing even in battle. The path leading to the gate was opened. Everyone gathered their forces to go deep inside. According to radar detection, the center of the gate was where everyone was standing, but something was very suspicious here. There weren't any abnormal waves or signals around. It was strangely quiet without sensing any magical reactions. HyeonJoon discovered a phone nearby. According to Wan's words, there was a detachment coming here before. The security force tried to enter here, but there was no sign of anyone here. HyeonJoon senses danger through Hashishun's power. He wanted to inform everyone, but was suddenly attacked by a monster and almost cut his neck by it. A monster with terrifying assassination abilities, its strength estimated to be at least SS rank. It was the boss of this gate, the SS-class monster, the Demon Spirit. SS-class demonic beasts and ghosts have gone into battle. If you want to kill and end the raid, you need to destroy the energy inside it. It was definitely a black magic stone, so Jin asked if he had any plans. The answer is very clearly no, because absolute strength is always something he guarantees. Miller's sword breaks the seal, and Carthago's shield of justice will protect him for the duration of the battle. HyeonJoon started to attack. Powerful swords were released, but he dodged. He had to rely on Sojin's acceleration to dodge the attack. The monster redirected its attack to Sojin, wanting to kill her first to prevent the team's ability to heal. But that won't be true because Han Sok and Wan are here, who will absolutely protect Sojin's safety. In the back, HyeonJoon was able to stand up and use the sword to attack. The monster even used absolute invisibility. HyeonJoon ordered Sojin to create as many protective barriers as possible. He would be outside to fight the monster, his body gradually merging with the darkness. Stepping into a space where only 2 people existed, the monster revealed its identity. He is Han Jin-woo, Korea's strongest hunter. Just like what Smith said, he sold himself a blood contract. People who have thrown away their humanity and honor do not deserve to live. HyeonJoon will definitely kill this traitorous bastard, even though it will be a bit difficult. Because his strength was still on the level, even the divine blade was grabbed by him and thrown back. He then frantically attacked HyeonJoon. He was forced into a corner and forced to think of a way to overcome it. As soon as he pulls back the knife, an opening will be revealed. That was his opportunity to attack. Although he dodged it, the breakthrough point of this attack was the divine knife. The attack just now was just a decoy, to give him a chance to use the divine blade. The stab wound was quite deep, so he collapsed on the floor, seemingly victorious, but Hashishun's laughter rang out again. Signaling the danger still exists, he is still alive after the stab wound in the neck. Jin Woo used his super regeneration ability to escape physical pain. This ability awakened when he became an S-rank hunter. This was the first time he used it against another opponent and also too continued to attack as much as usual. But now HyeonJoon's sword appeared a crack. The situation doesn't look good for HyeonJoon. After all, he can't lose this match, so he can only do his best. With Miller's help, he temporarily repelled his attack, but that was just an opportunity for him to attack more strongly. HyeonJoon was hit by a pretty strong blow, and at this time Jin Woo also hit the strongest blow to be able to kill HyeonJoon. But he forgot one thing: who is the main character in this series. HyeonJoon began to use the power of the spirits and unleashed a powerful attack. The explosion of mana caused the dark world to collapse in an instant. He ate the full blow and became a real body. This means that he has lost and will be immediately killed by the invader. He will be absorbed and completely disappear. The victory belonged to HyeonJoon, although it was not unexpected. Everyone is still safe after the monster attack. The SS rank hunter, Han Jin-woo, no longer existed in the world. Everyone will leave here before the gate closes. Before leaving, HyeonJoon didn't forget to flirt with So-jin in front of everyone. In the invader's castle, Alina reports on the battle. Although they failed, this created conditions for them to strengthen their military force, but it was still not enough to overcome time and space. This means they need more sacrifices. Han Jin-woo's true nature has been exposed. Everyone admires HyeonJoon's ability even more. Tae Shik wants to inform you of something. Someone wants to see you. The World Genius Organization has been in turmoil because of Han Jin-woo's story. They couldn't imagine a scenario where he worked for the blood contract. So they joined hands to establish an organization located in each country called the Alliance Protectorate. The official terms have not yet been decided, but will certainly have great authority and influence. And he was nominated as a candidate for the position of leader. Other benefits are clearly listed on the contract. Everything was perfect, so there was no reason for him to refuse this offer. There is one person that Tae Shik wants to introduce to you, that is Agent Smith. He heard that you were the one who stopped the large-scale raid that happened in Seoul recently. According to the report, the gate ranks that have opened in Seoul are 3A ranks, 3S ranks, and 1S's rank. And that SS gate, HyeonJoon personally handled it. It is noteworthy that this information is posted on Tube very quickly, even faster than the press. That is the work of attention seeker, Song Tae-hee. To make sure everything went smoothly, he reintroduced himself. Real name is Smith, an agent of the World Genius Association. He came here to appoint HyeonJoon to become a member of the association, at the same time cooperate in exchanging information about the Blood Alliance and leave this badge for him. It is proof that you are part of the association and will enjoy your own benefits. Speaking of the Blood Alliance, the Genius Association mobilized all intelligence officers in Korea to investigate, but there were no reports about it. Hunter Han Jin-woo's secret was revealed and a large-scale investigation was launched, but the police department still couldn't find any evidence. Small-scale raids are taking place in large numbers around the world. The number was higher than previously reported. According to the investigation, the crack was created with black magic stone, and during the recent Gangnam raid, creatures called invaders appeared. Black magic stones can be used to create those things, but they can also be the key to opening the space rift. Currently, the police department is still tracking them nationwide. Strangely, it seemed like they were still targeting him. That was all Smith wanted to inform him. HyeonJoon fell into thought after those two people left. He sensed danger approaching. The more he related to his past life, the stronger his hatred towards the invasion orders suddenly fell into the dream of his past life. This time it's Sidon Miller. He summoned you according to Deus's words, and in particular the invasion order has been deployed, so the danger is very close. He became stronger, but that was not enough, because the invaders were so strong that even 990,000 past lives could not defeat them. The invasion order has been fully prepared to destroy you. They can't come now because the dimensions aren't connected, but it's only a matter of time. So, he had to become stronger, and this was when Miller decided to give him the legendary sword. With the power of a hero, this sword will definitely make you many times stronger than before. HyeonJoon has completely inherited Sidon Miller's will. This is the turning point for him to bring a good ending to them. On the other side, the members of the Blood Alliance gathered in one place. And they began to perform the sacrificial ritual. They are willing to sacrifice themselves in exchange for the prosperity of the invader. Red blood mixed with black magic stone, a new dimension was opened and followed by the invader's army. They are ready to fight for a final battle. The dimensional portal opened without a hitch. Alsace wanted to put all of the force into the position of the qualified one. He didn't want to waste any more time on this, but Aljas didn't want that. She wants to destroy your subordinates first, so she can have fun with someone who meets the standards. Heron warns him not to underestimate the enemy because he is the main character. Having the power of powerful souls obviously worried him, but the two idiots next to him didn't think so. They think that Heron is just making excuses for his own weakness. The only thing that Heron has to do is bring HyeonJoon's head here. He was in kill or be killed mode. If you want to live, you must complete this campaign, and Heron appeared in HyeonJoon's own house. He said that he didn't come here to fight, something like Hashishun's absolute invisibility. He couldn't feel his presence. His purpose of coming here was just to say a few simple words to him, before the battle took place. He asked you, "Do you know why we attacked you?" HyeonJoon said loudly, "You tried to trick me again." All individuals who crave power want the same thing. Standing above others and looking down at them like insects. That's how you use the members of the Blood Alliance. I don't want to hear anything from you. He then pulled out his sword, and challenged him to battle, but Heron had no intention of fighting. He talked about his past, having previously killed many other qualified people. His mission is to destroy those who meet the standards. If we cannot fulfill our duty, we will be killed. Then he threw a bracelet to HyeonJoon and disappeared. While on duty, he thought a lot about Heron's words. This flight is going to the artificial island in Jeju, where there is a violent magical reaction. This exploration mission only involved Sejin and Taemin. Because they weren't sure the gate would appear here. If a large-scale attack is launched, it will lead to serious damage. In addition, the S-rank hunter, Song Tae-hee, also went along with everyone. She was very nervous if she had to go directly to the battle, but Sojin's goddess aura eased her fears somewhat. The plane has arrived at the designated location. Below are the three strongest people of the invaders. The plane was about to land, so everyone got ready to take a fighting stance. The weather here suddenly became bad. It seemed like no one was here. And HyeonJoon's sword sensed the immense magic power emanating from the nearby church. The number is 3 people, but the magical reaction is very strong. Everyone started to go inside the church. Here the team encountered 3 high-ranking members of the invaders. It seemed like a battle was about to break out between the two factions. First, HyeonJoon wants to ask something, which is whether the purpose of the invasion order is to take over space or not. And purgatory, or otherwise known as the raid, helps you open the rifts of spacetime, doesn't it? If the Blood Alliance's people widen the rift large enough, the invasion order's elite troops will be able to land. The other members of the Blood Alliance that opened the rift were all dead. As for the indigenous people living in the occupied space, if useful, will be accepted as a soldier, into the ranks of the Blood Alliance. To be precise, only 10% of the occupied became soldiers. The remaining 90% were killed. One more thing HyeonJoon wanted to ask. Opening the purgatory and the raid gate was the beginning of the invasion. So where did the demonic beasts come from? They were owned by the demonic beast corps. It can be considered as a small branch of the invaders. Although not too strong in combat, the numbers are huge. So even if hundreds of thousands of them are destroyed, it doesn't matter. They are only sacrifices for the main army. And the final question from HyeonJoon. Whoever is the leader of the invading army is the supreme being. The leader at the head of the invading army is the only existence. The reason why Aljas answered all of his questions was because she wanted to kill her as soon as she heard the answer. A huge energy source shoots straight at the team's position. So Jin used the protective shield, but it was unable to withstand the source of the power, and began to crack. At this time, Tae-hee took out her toolbox, and threw the nano shield into the sky. This is the most powerful shield created by man. They have also become more serious about the battle, and now is the time for HyeonJoon's army to go to battle. Once they get here, they cannot return unscathed. Aljas begins to use his magic, summoning a magic circle at everyone's feet. Because Tae-hee's nano circle was destroyed, so Jin was forced to use her own power. A huge explosion burned everything in front of him, and Sojin's shield was also broken into 100 pieces. Suddenly the enemy attacked HyeonJoon. Even though he blocked the sword, this simple power was still too strong. He introduces himself as LJIK, an executioner under the invading monarch's command. Before he kills HyeonJoon, he wants to tell him his true alias. Thanks to Durandal's help, he continued to block the opponent's attacks. At the same time, he used the mana flowing in his body to create a powerful explosion that shot straight at Ijik's body. The attack temporarily pushed him back, but Sojin's side was attacked by Haran. Without thinking, Taehi quickly took out the nanotechnology, and shot out a huge amount of pulse waves. They were forced to step back and act more cautiously. Even with a few attacks, HyeonJoon was still able to hold it. Even his strength was increasing over time. The complicated developments caused him to change his attack strategy. First of all, as LJIK, he doesn't reveal any special skills, but he is still very strong through his enormous physical strength. If he attacks, he will definitely be hit, so HyeonJoon will fight Haran first, and Ijik will leave it to Taehi to handle. It was necessary to stop him for as long as possible, until he defeated Haran and Aljaz. This is the plan that HyeonJoon can think of right now. Ijik was also prepared to fight hard. HyeonJoon will fight opposite him, and Taehi will aim at his right side to shoot. Everyone split into action. According to Taehi's adjustments, the nano-machine gun was opened. A large source of energy shot at Liek's position, but Haran suddenly appeared behind her and attacked. Fortunately, HyeonJoon's divine sword promptly attacked, saving her life. Haran then continued to use invisibility to attack Sojin's position. When she had no one to protect her, she was forced to fight no matter how much he threatened. She was not afraid. Because she has the special ability of a righteous knight. Aljaz couldn't stand by and watch any longer, he directly used SS-level magic. A large source of energy appeared overhead and began to fire powerful attacks. Sojin once again activated the shield, but with this powerful attack, the shield was quickly destroyed. Just in time, HyeonJoon also wanted to try some of Giles de Rais's strength. It can neutralize all magic, allowing him to destroy Aljaz's power and giving Sojin the opportunity to use recovery magic. He told Taemin that when Sojin tied up Aljaz, they would both attack at the same time. She started using her powers and bound Aljaz to a cross. This is the time to take action to destroy the remaining two people. HyeonJoon hid in the shadows thanks to the Hashashin's ability, and appeared in front of Ijik and chopped his head off. The executioner LJIK is dead. Haran can only curse, because the main guy is too hacked into the game. In the end, he was shot directly at Taehi's nano gun. Now there is only one person left, and he was able to escape the bondage of the cross because he escaped too quickly, causing the debris to hit Taemin. Looking at the two men killed on the ground, Aljaz couldn't help but be surprised at HyeonJoon's rapid development. Despite his great strength, he still couldn't go 1v4, so Aljaz was thinking of running away. Just as Haran warned, HyeonJoon's strength cannot be accurately estimated. This battle the invaders have lost. Aljaz will retreat now, but things will not go so easily. HyeonJoon wouldn't let him run away, but at this moment a big rock fell from the sky. After that cloud of smoke and dust, another commander appeared. He did not expect HyeonJoon to be so strong in a game-breaking way. The 13th ranked invaders Ijik and Haran along with the 11th ranked Aljaz were defeated by him in one go. This is also the reason why Executive Officer Alina is here. At this rate, HyeonJoon will continue to unlock new powers and advance to SS rank. Lina appears to aid Alsace. They have lost two strong cards in their force because the war will temporarily postpone the battle for a while. HyeonJoon's goal when coming here is to destroy all enemies of humanity, so letting the enemy escape is impossible. But now Lina uses the ability to control the minds of Taemin and Taehi. The two of them were in pain and kept screaming. HyeonJoon may be very strong, but Lina is ranked 9th among the invaders. She has the ability to control others to do what she tells her to do, and controlling his teammates to kill each other is very easy. Having no other choice, HyeonJoon was forced to let them leave. Alsace opens the space-time portal, and will return to the world of the invaders. The next time we meet will be a more fearsome battle, between those of higher rank. Returning to report to the leader, he must have seen, 4 people went through the gate but now only 2 people are returning, which means this mission has failed. Haran and Izich have been killed. To explain his failure, Alsace raised his opinion about HyeonJoon's strength. There was a very familiar source of mana flowing through his body. It seemed like his power came from other dead qualified people. His growth rate is very fast. Every time after a battle he receives another great source of power. With this momentum, he will quickly become a great danger to the invaders, and the leader has made a decision. That is to give full command of the next attack to Ilina. She will lead the army for the upcoming attack. Back to HyeonJoon's team. After going through this terrible battle, Taehee's mind could not stay calm. She cried and demanded to cancel cooperation with your association. But So-jin appeared as an angel, to calm her fears. In the end, Taehee still couldn't resist So-jin's sweetness. Next to the corpses of Haran and Izach, was a huge source of mana. It can fill the chaos, and begin to bless you. The entire bodies of those two people were turned into energy, transmitted to everyone. The battle here is over, so the team should also leave. The plane is ready to take off to bring everyone back home. Everyone was exhausted after the battle, so they fell asleep. Fortunately, everyone is still safe, and back in the right numbers. Taehee alone seems tireless. She wants to upload this fight clip to Tube immediately. Anyway, everything is temporarily stable. HyeonJoon will sleep for a while until he returns home. Taehee didn't rest all along the way, so now she's exhausted and can't walk on her own. Everyone said goodbye and went home. Along the way, HyeonJoon met Lee Won. He still has to wear a cast because of the injury to his hand. During the time he was on duty, nothing strange happened in the guild. If anything, Won would notify him immediately. Returning home, HyeonJoon happily lay down on the bed to rest. He wished that no one would bother him, but that wish did not come true. Song Tae-shik called him at this time. Even though he didn't want to, he still had to listen to see if there was anything important. He has something to tell you about the invaders' headquarters. He will have to go to the police station for a meeting, along with Jin-ah and Han Sok. All three were very tired but had no other choice. There were still vagrants left, but the police department managed to control most of the Blood Alliance thanks to the merits of 3 people. Also thanks to Taehee, the control of the media was finally made public. All information has been published in the latest news. Regarding the fact that congressional representatives as well as many politicians were discovered to be members of the Blood Alliance. Tae-shik called them the masterminds, but of course, now they're all gone. They disappeared into the void, like when a creature or invader died, so now everyone only needs to care about the invader. But HyeonJoon still has some doubts, which is the identity of the invaders. Currently, 3 names are known including Haran, Izach, Alsace and one new invader, Lena. She used the same symbol as Ju Hai-ri and Ju Jun, and she used it on Tae-min. Within moments they were pointing their weapons at each other. What happened to the 3S rank hunters could happen again. The meeting ends in Jin-ah's recognition of HyeonJoon. Sitting on his bed thinking about the enemies he had defeated, there was no way to know their numbers or their strength. At least the information he knew was that they appeared through cracks or raids. HyeonJoon tiredly laid down on the bed, and began to fall asleep. This time another gate appeared. This is a new past life, called the God of Lightning. This person appeared when he defeated Han Jin-woo. Inside the door is a large room. The past life appears with a horse and spear in hand. He is Lykyri, the hero who can pierce any darkness. Just like every other past life, he has been following HyeonJoon for a long time. And he summoned you here with only one purpose, that is to bless you so that you can defeat the leader of the invaders. Fortunately, he met the standards to inherit power without passing a test. Because he had previously defeated Han Ji-woo, a super-fast enemy. HyeonJoon followed the plan that previous lives had arranged. To be more precise, it was Deus's ability that interfered with his fate. HyeonJoon is also ready to receive the power from Lykyri without needing to take a test. Lykyri will give him the power to pierce through enemies, in the name of light. After a while of receiving power, he woke up in the real world. The sword does not sense any dark energy but instead the light energy it hates. Going to the office, he saw So-jin sleeping but with a very happy smile on his face. Looking at the computer, I realized that she was dreaming of going to a vacation home in Gangwon, so that night the whole Lace group had the day off to go out. Jin-ah also followed here, but this villa belongs to her family. The two stopped arguing after Tae prepared to grill the meat. However, at this time everyone suddenly felt a very strong source of mana. This mana is not normal and here it is coming, a person stepping out from the portal of time. She appeared with a happy smile on her face. She introduced herself as a person drifting in space. This is the name given to those who lose their way when trying to cross dimensions. When she heard HyeonJoon mention the invader's name, her expression immediately changed. It seemed like the two of you needed to talk, but before that you needed to put down your weapon. Going to the office, the two started talking. Her name is Levion, a person from another dimension. The portal she passed through before was also a form of space rift. Levion is a wizard who organizes a magical alliance and was once a student of the academy seeking enlightenment. It was just a peaceful day like any other, until space cracks appeared continuously. Finally a giant gate opened and then they appeared. They are invaders traveling across dimensions. Maybe HyeonJoon knows them well, but the seeds of destruction were planted long before that. The title of the leader is the headquarters of the invasion command. The Magic Alliance was formed to counter their attack. In the beginning, they always won, but the main force of the enemy appeared. They were much stronger than normal monsters. This is also the time when the professor makes an important decision as long as there is a little bit of strength left. We must also try our best to move forward and the outcome is anyone's guess. The Magic Alliance had been defeated, many of them had lost their lives. The few that survived were brainwashed and became soldiers for the invasion headquarters army. Levion managed to escape, but she was left drifting in space, because the spell was unstable. HyeonJoon wants to know the name of the professor she mentioned. It was Giles de Rais, a past life that gave him the power to break all magic. Giles will suddenly reacted strongly. Levion always wondered how he got the professor's mana source. And as usual, he said, that person was a past life of mine. Out of a total of 990,000 past lives, Giles is one of them. Of course, Levion doesn't believe this, and she doesn't want HyeonJoon to disrespect the professor. She was about to cast magic to attack him, but Giles' power was flowing through her body. He could easily break her magic. After all, HyeonJoon still had to explain everything to her, and forgot that the party was over at this point. Returning home, HyeonJoon began to think about Levion's words. He was very curious and wanted to meet Giles to ask everything. Inside the gate is a part of Giles's memories. Facing the strong invasion of the enemy, Giles can only buy a little time for his students to escape. Through the rift in space-time, Levion will get to where she wants to be. The memory ends. HyeonJoon wakes up inside Giles' room. He predicted everything that would happen, but Giles could not prevent those past illusions from reaching him. Giles confirmed once again that Levion is a member of the Magical Alliance Force and she is also a research assistant at the school. If the other students that Giles teaches say nothing. But Levion is a bit special. She's always trying and asking questions, she's also an interesting friend. In the old days, Giles always locked himself in the library. He thinks people hate him so he doesn't socialize with anyone else. Only Levion was happy to talk to him and even invited him to go outside to see the results of the magic she had researched. After seeing it, I regret it, the work she created is a symbol of the living goddess. But it seemed that it was a bit different from what Giles had imagined, so he destroyed the tree immediately. At first Giles really hated her until it happened. The enemy broke through the protective perimeter of space. Most of the students who came to the rift to research were killed, at which point Giles took on this mission himself. Knowing the danger of the enemy, Levion ran after him, and begged to go with him. She wants to be Giles' assistant and caretaker. In addition, she also gave him a pair of glasses. Because it was Giles' birthday. Even so, the forces at the invaders' headquarters were still very strong. After half a year, the world in Giles' space became a dead land without life. Giles witnessed his comrades being killed by monsters. One by one everyone fell. This was also the time he made a decision. Levion will be the one to step through the rift. Giles sacrificed himself so she could escape. The glasses were the last souvenir he could give. Because that day was Levion's birthday, this would be the third blessing after Hashashin and Sidon Miller. Giles' final power seal will be passed down to him. Giles' only wish is that he can destroy the invaders. The next morning the two met to talk. Levion agreed to help HyeonJoon because he could fulfill the professor's wish. People can spend the whole day resting and return to work tomorrow. From now on she can stay in this house. There are still many empty rooms so she can choose any one. After she leaves, Jin-ah begins to question his actions. In general, people suspect her as an aggressor, but HyeonJoon said, "Just trust me. Everything is nothing to worry about, so people believe it." Jin-ah left shortly after, and so did Tae-hee. Tae Min is still here, he is now the vice president of LACE. He received a call from the dungeon administration. Speaking of unusual Manhwa reactions, reported from various departments in Korea. There weren't any signs of a raid or a dungeon break. At first, we thought it was a bug in the detection system. Therefore, they were late in transmitting the news. But it was obviously a real situation. Tae Min had sent a message 10 minutes before he arrived and the sword sensed this familiar source of mana. It was from the invader. Before this incident, the three leaders of the invader went to meet the monarch according to his summons. Rascal hid the fact that HyeonJoon was getting stronger so quickly. He is not happy with what is happening, and if Rascal fails once again, all those under Rascal's barrier will be killed. In a world ruled by monarchs, there doesn't exist a dog that can't bite. He also sent orders to the Spacetime Alliance to take action. This will be Rascal's last chance, using whatever ingredients are useful to you. At the end of the meeting, Rascal spoke to his subordinates. Ready, we will go directly to Earth. HyeonJoon once again fell into the illusion of his past life. This time it's the one who challenges destiny, Deus. It's been a while since the two of them met, and HyeonJoon has a lot of questions. The first is increasing sync with Deus, which increases synchronicity, which usually involves repeating a particular action or using a blessing. In Deus's case, the more fates he creates, the more his synchronization ability will increase. You are doing very well, because your destiny has changed at a very fast pace. During the 99,000 apocalypse, they built a system of past lives and shared their abilities but could not share all of them, because of some conflicts. But this time he changed everything. His ability to accept all sources of power and the war to end his destiny was also about to take place. The mana he felt just now was a sign that the main force was approaching. Another dimensional portal has opened. This area has been sealed off at HyeonJoon's request. No residents will be injured here. This dimensional rift is unstable. It is highly unlikely that they will use an army to initiate a large-scale invasion. For some reason, it seemed like they intended to invade despite the possibility of receiving heavy damage. They want to destroy HyeonJoon as quickly as possible because he has achieved the goal of 990,000 past lives. You inherited all of their power. This battle will decide the fate of humanity. If everyone loses, it will be the end of this world. Stepping out from the gate were Alsace and Ilina, but this time the invading army was joined by an SSS-ranked hunter. He is Vladimir, the icy blade of Russia. As an awakened person, he has two special abilities. One is the assassination ability of the assassin, and two is the absolute control of the cold at a complex level. It seemed he had abandoned his identity and joined the invading army. Even though his army was small, he felt overwhelming strength. They have been brainwashed by Lina's ability, and the special thing is that Jin-Ah is not affected by this ability. It seems she has strong abilities against so-called genjutsu. Lina informs Vladimir about HyeonJoon's sword. It has the ability to absorb the energy and strength of its opponents. So Vladimir will be your opponent, and Team Alpha will face the rest. HyeonJoon also changed his own plans. Lee Jin-Ah fights Lina, as her mana will help counteract Lina's brainwashing abilities. Team Alpha will hand Han Sok and Tae Shik to handle, because the combat experience of the two is very diverse, and Levion, her opponent, will be Alsace. The enemy killed Professor Giles. This will be a very interesting battle, and equally dangerous. Vladimir was the first to attack. One swing of his sword could freeze an entire building. To stop this cold energy, so Jin used the holy place, and now is the time to fight between the two strongest. When the two swords touched, HyeonJoon's sword felt a terrifying chill. It warns him that if he gets hit by one hit, he will be covered in thousands of years of ice. So he was forced to keep his distance before launching his next attacks. Although it was a bit difficult, his sword was still able to adapt and absorb his mana just a little longer than usual. Vladimir began to get more serious about killing him. This battle will be very difficult. HyeonJoon gathers Miller's energy and Duranral's powerful light, and unleashes a shot with enormous energy. He immediately cast an ice wall to block his attack. He then summons ice arrows and attacks back, but HyeonJoon has Hashishin's ability, so he dodges easily. If he continued to be pushed back like this, he wouldn't stand a chance of victory. The fact that he became an experienced SSS rank hunter was not surprising. After analyzing HyeonJoon's attack for a while, he came to a conclusion. You use hidden magic and fight with swords, so he will fight you using this method. HyeonJoon screamed Lycuri's name, and summoned a mighty horse. He rushed straight into Vladimir's attack. Even though he was injured a lot, he was able to penetrate the eternal ice. Then he jumped high and launched a powerful slash at his body, but the self-recovery mana skill was automatically activated. A mana explosion occurred in his body. HyeonJoon warned the people behind him of danger. Vladimir's attack froze everything in this place. Everyone is still standing thanks to Sojin's protection. He continued to use Lycuri's ability, mounted the warrior's horse, and charged straight towards Vladimir. Everyone outside also started to fight. Seeing HyeonJoon was boring, so they wanted to fight a bit. Compared to the leaders, this alpha army is much easier to deal with. Han Sok has become much stronger since the previous battle. He can use wind to propel himself into the air, which is a variation of the air blast Jin-Ah used before. He can even simulate gravity using wind, an ability that helps him activate variations of wind magic. Tae Shik also prepares his single attack. Combine two elements with a powerful source of mana. Lightning and hail mixed together to create a wide area attack, defeating all members of Team Alpha. Everything on Han Sok's side was resolved smoothly, without anyone being injured. For HyeonJoon, Lycuri's blessing is stronger than he thought. It can also create multiple swords and simultaneously attack Lycuri. The speed of the swords was very fast. Even though he tried to defend, he was still hit by the sword. The internal injuries became more and more serious, causing him to constantly vomit blood. At this moment HyeonJoon charged with a powerful attack. He slashed downwards but unfortunately was stopped by him. Even at this moment he can chant magic, the cold eats away. HyeonJoon's body is slowly freezing, forcing him to use Giles' power. Because with Giles' protection, all spells would be useless. He smashed the wall of ice and used the killing intent of the god of death, crushing his mind. The ultimate SSS level hunter is still a human, so long as the main character can defeat HyeonJoon. It seemed that he had killed Vladimir, but he suddenly went crazy with the amount of dark mana pouring out. Things gradually became complicated. After fighting for a while, his mana was restored in an instant and Ilina's side also had difficulties. Jin-Ah is immune to brainwashing and Levian has an abundance of mana. The battle was forced into a passive position, so Lina decided to use her ultimate move but needed Alsace to buy her some time. With the remaining mana, Alsace was not sure he could survive if the other two attacked at the same time. Since she had no other choice, she risked her life to buy Lina time. A huge energy surrounds Ilina's body. This is a spirit-binding magic. Alsace will stand to stop Jin-Ah and Levian's advance. The two are locked in a cube, but Jin-Ah's flame is absolute. She broke the cube, and forced Alsace to use her own technique. It was gravity reversal, a magic that caused the gravity of the earth to be lost. Both were attacked very suddenly. Although heavily injured from the recent collision, Levian promptly used his special magic. She tied Alsace to a tree and let Jin-Ah burn it. The combination of fire and flammable objects made the explosion even more powerful, and Alsace was burned immediately. One more member of the invasion force was killed and now Lina remained, but now her magic was complete. This is a terrifying ability that makes everyone fall into her illusion. Everyone was hypnotized by this ability, and had absolutely no resistance. Vladimir took the opportunity to attack HyeonJoon. He was seriously injured, forcing him to make a decision. He had to receive Deus's blessing and his prayers were heard by Deus. He directly intervened in fate, a past life of divine rank descended to earth. HyeonJoon's mana suddenly increased dramatically. This is the presence of the god, Ares, the god who rules over madness. In other words, he is the god of war. He possessed his body and went directly to battle. When a god takes over a body, wounds are healed, strength is depleted, and mana is restored. Whoever dares to oppose the god of war, whoever dares to stop the god of war will not be able to survive. Ilina's nonsense magic cannot affect a god. When the sharp sword turns into pouring rain, the bright red color of the flower will crush those who dare to challenge the gods. Lina was scared and asked to retreat, but Ares did not allow that to happen. When challenging a war with the gods, no one is allowed to escape and Ilina is the last to be killed. HyeonJoon killed Lina. She did not expect that his power was at this divine level. She eventually vanished into thin air along with the other invaders, the synchronicity god's blessing removed. HyeonJoon returned to his true self. Even though he won, his body was seriously damaged. There was still something he had to take care of, which was to absorb the power of the black magic stone and push it into the abyss of chaos. The mana source was released, and gave strength to the remaining members. Everyone was awake, but he couldn't take it anymore and fell to the ground. The battle is over. HyeonJoon is the one who defeated all the enemies. Rascal did not expect himself to fail again. When they encountered HyeonJoon on the artificial island, Lena and Alsace faced him on their own. Rascal is certain that HyeonJoon has received all the power of his past life, including a god that Rascal once read about in a book. Ares, the god of anger. He was once the chosen one, and defeated countless armies with a single blow of his sword. They were already at a disadvantage when opening and passing through an unstable crack. If faced with a chosen one with the power of a god, the nightmare that day will happen again, and HyeonJoon has met that god. He sat motionless on the battlefield, covered with corpses everywhere. The world is still in danger by invaders. If you don't get stronger, then all will die. The fact that he wanted to gain strength was partly because he was the chosen one. The end of his disappointment was near, that's why he decided to give him this divine power. Everyone put all their trust in him, this time he had to stop them. Ares' divine energy was merging into his body. Now, he could use the black magic stone from the invasion headquarters. Although he wanted to explain more, the time to meet was running out, and this was when Deus appeared. He doesn't want Ares to directly interfere with HyeonJoon's fate because some people have disappeared. Hashashin, Sidon Miller, Carthago and Giles have had 990,000 lives. Too many people have died because of this unending fate. They hope only to be disappointed, which is why Deus calls it absolute despair. Ares only wished for one thing. When the past life system was completed, the enemy was destroyed and the future of humanity was restored. Everything should end here, it's all too tiring. Ares wants to rest first, and promises to meet Ares at the end of this destiny. Rascal was scolded by the monarch for his repeated failures. He couldn't believe that Rascal and the 281st Army were defeated so easily. The strongest warrior in the 13th headquarters, Ilena and Alsace, have been defeated. HyeonJoon became so strong that he killed a level 5 invader in just a short time. When he heard Rascal talk about the mana of a god, the leader panicked a bit. He had to kill the chosen one before he became a god. The condition of the crack is still the same as when Lena opened it, but is not stable enough for an entire army to pass through. The main forces of the invaders are currently facing the Spacetime Alliance, so there is no reserve army. They couldn't ask for reinforcements, and the rift was unstable. So the leader made an important decision: we will open the rift and launch an all-out attack. Those who meet the standards are growing too fast and cannot wait for the rift to open normally again, so they must call in all their forces and destroy the earth immediately. Rascal went to the door and asked the monarch to think again. But he said, "Do you know how many officers we have left in headquarters? You and I are the only 2 people left, while those who qualify do not suffer any loss. This is our last chance. All units of the 13th Invasion Headquarters will begin space travel towards the Earth." Jin-Ah feels the end is approaching. Faced with Lena's immense power, she did not lose her mind. Instead, try to hold on and not fall into the illusion, and the special thing is that everyone here also passed the test, and became SSS-class hunters. Many things happened while he was not in Korea. Many countries around the world announced they would support the United Nations Defense Committee. Jin-Ah and Han Sok contributed greatly to the hunt for the Blood Alliance and were generously rewarded. In addition, people have contacted him many times, but he has not responded. Suddenly a large gate appeared in the center of the city. Followed by an army of monsters. Too many monsters appeared at the same time, and there was also a strange mana, but it was very strong. Suddenly a ray of light appeared in the sky, killing all the monsters on the way. The light went out and 2 people stepped out. It seemed like they were goblins. At the same time, he is also an expert sent by the Spacetime Alliance. An expert from the Spacetime Alliance has been sent to Earth. Her name is Iseria. The Spacetime Alliance is a force working towards the goal of stopping all enemies of other dimensions, specifically the invading command headquarters. The simple explanation is an organization that fights invaders. They came here to help HyeonJoon. They will help you destroy the 13th Invasion Headquarters that is attacking this world. Rascal has also appeared here. He came here to announce the upcoming battle, but if he wants to fight right now, this guy will kill you immediately. The strength of the people in the Spacetime Alliance is very great. Even the leader of the invading army would die if he directly confronted the alliance. Realizing the threat, Roskell did not want to take action. He promises to destroy the entire alliance next time, along with the Chosen One, and destroy the Earth. HyeonJoon has many questions to ask the two people in the alliance. Everyone will find another place to talk, and there is no better place than the Lace Association office. HyeonJoon asked her, why did the alliance find him? Because the mana he emitted was very similar to those who qualified before. They sensed that 990,000 past lives were inside him. The Space-Time Alliance has helped and fought side by side with countless qualified people over many generations. Those who qualify are extremely rare. They have the power to fight against the invading headquarters alone and have unlimited potential. But to defeat the invasion headquarters, many different factors were still needed, so the alliance fought against the invaders, while searching in different dimensions to find the right person at the same time. Right now, the alliance is still fighting against the invaders. Through centuries of fighting, the invasion headquarters and the Space-Time Alliance have suffered many losses. That's why HyeonJoon who is qualified. It is an important key to ending this war once and for all. They will fall as long as you breathe, but they can bring countless monsters here. To facilitate upgrading HyeonJoon's power, Iseria brought an ancient artifact. It is the blood of a bloody murderer, you can call it a butcher. It immediately reacts with the divine blade and is absorbed without a drop of health left. There are still many objects that were found in past lives, but most of them are lost because the dimensions have been destroyed. In other words, you have to go on a treasure hunt. It would be difficult to find them all, but he could search for a few, so he made his decision. You will go with Iseria to find the artifacts, because she knows where the artifacts are located.